Goes pretty quick. Oh, we're live.
Oh, wow.
According to StreamYard.
So
Says we're live.
fast. Do we have
You
any
don't-
reason to distrust StreamYard?
Well, I mean, it might say we're live and then like still take another 2 seconds. Like, how would we know?
I don't know.
I guess we could do a test with the. Well, we could check. Actually, I guess I could just check the video afterwards. That would be an easy way to know.
You know, I
Make a
wonder
note.
if what's that? What were you gonna say?
I said make a note so we'll remember to go check the video.
Do you think StreamYard, you know, in like around like a couple weeks before Halloween, when everybody like changes their social media tags to like be like Halloween themed, do you think StreamYard changes theirs to ScreamYard? Like a little ghost emoji after. That wouldn't improve my view of them in my books.
No, I don't think they should. This is supposed to be like a professional thing.
Yeah, you're a professional service.
Yeah, like I don't think
what
my
are you
company.
gaining?
I don't think my company that does like consumer financing loans is gonna like change to Halloween theme on our UI. Like Halloween. I don't know if that would be a good idea.
Well, finance is different.
So
Finance
hey,
is
I
so
decided to copy
assertive.
you and put my hood on since you
I
have
saw.
your hood on, but I don't feel like it looks as cool. It looks stupid. I don't know.
My
Should I
hood's
just
a
go with
little
it
more-
anyway?
Your hood looks more like a robe hood.
Yeah, I think I was covering too much of my hair.
Oh,
Maybe I need to be like
it's
you.
too
like,
far
sort of
forward.
I need to like still, because you're still, we could see your forehead and your hair. Okay, so maybe
Well, you know, so long as I have the hairline, I'm going to show it.
Okay, me too.
Oh,
right.
graveyard. Yeah.
Much better.
Scream
Well,
Graveyard.
StreamYard's also good. Yeah, well, it's getting a little bit cumbersome.
You know
let's
what
start,
I'm
I
living.
guess.
You know
Oh.
what I'm living today. I'm ready
does
to
that mean?
start, but I just wanted to make sure you and everybody knew that today I am living the high quality digital life.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Good that cable's not coming out. There's no chance that cable's coming out mid-show.
It's also an appropriate length, which I appreciate. Or no, you know, it's just still wrapped up, I guess. It might still be the same length. But I love to live the high quality digital
For
life.
anyone who wants to know the behind the scenes, I ordered on Amazon.
3 bow. I'd eat 3
New-
bow.
I ordered Brian 2 cables for his microphone, and they got sent right to his house. Beautiful.
Bam. It's amazing what
The world
you
we
can
live
do
in.
these days.
You know, when I bought mine, they were on sale. So this one, it was like double the price. But
When you bought
worth it.
your
I got
cords.
the same cables.
Oh, this was twice the price? Oh,
Yeah, I remember I messaged you the day that I got mine, being like, "This is a good deal. We should get them."
sorry.
But then you weren't into it, and so I only got it for me. But it's okay. $5 versus $10. You know, sometimes twice the price isn't as bad, depending what the price is.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't send my extra cable.
I mean, that would have been probably less expensive.
But then I wouldn't have a backup cable.
What do you need a backup cable for?
This is my backup cable.
I only end up with too many cables, rarely not enough.
Well,
Under what circumstance?
I just think that I might lose one. What if I'm like going somewhere? I know for you have a rule where you never do a podcast outside of your house. But sometimes I go to visit family and I'll still record a podcast. What if I left the cable by mistake?
Why
Then
would you
what?
leave the cable?
I mean, you know,
I would
have a
keep
kid.
one end plugged into either my mic or like it has 2 ends. One end would remain plugged in.
Brian, did you know that we have 2 recordings going on at the same time for this show in case
What?
one doesn't work?
Is that good?
I'm explaining the value of backups.
Oh, that's
Like you have the main one, and then if something goes
That's-
wrong, you have a second.
I don't
one.
think there's some things you need a backup of. I don't think you need a backup cable. And like look at the packaging that was used here. Like this cost more to our children and their children hypothetically than it would have to just send
Our children are going to have children together.
the one you
That's
already.
wild.
I mean, they
Could
could.
you imagine? That would be insane. That would be.
It's funny that
insane.
from me saying our children and their children, you took that to mean that they would have the children together.
It made me happy to think about it.
It would be amazing.
Anyway, of
It'd
course,
be.
like,
I don't know if I could handle that.
no, it would be great.
It would
What's wrong
seem
with
like
that?
no, only just because like I know you so well.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I know you well, so I think like, oh, this would be
Be
great
like, go,
in-laws for
go
my.
out, explore the world. Not like I'm sure nothing against your child.
I mean,
at
I'm
all.
sure your kid will be excited. They'll be exploring the world, coming to Toronto, the big city,
Okay.
and then they'll meet this great girl.
Okay.
Anyway, Let's start the show. The whole point of starting early was to start early. But then
Well,
here
we
are,
did. We got
7:56.
the.
We got
Okay.
this out of the way.
Yeah.
We got this nonsense out of the way.
This is my. You know,
By the way, Shams, you don't even know you're the star of this show.
Shams is the star
FYI.
of the show.
So he'll find out why in a sec.
So now you
Let's,
and I each have a
mhm.
backup cable.
Yeah. Does that bother you? You could throw yours out if it's like too
Well,
much
no,
for
that
you.
makes it worse. I'll put it on the buy nothing or something. And then if I ever lose mine, you'll send me yours.
I'll order you another one from Amazon.
Another two
Or
from
another two.
Amazon.
Yeah.
All right. Let's have a high quality digital episode.
All right. I never thought of a joke. Hosted by two guys who. Oh, I'm just gonna rant
Do you
about
want to
Nico
keep doing the
Dawes.
joke?
Well, then I need a
Is it time
catchphrase.
to bend in the joke? Okay. How did the sigh work out, by the way? I
No one
sighed
said
into
anything. No one said anything
this.
that I saw. I don't think it was good. I don't think I liked it that much.
You didn't like
I
the
think you
sigh.
should. I don't think you need to yell the yes, but I think probably the sigh's very. The sigh's very ironic. Like it's like it's like inside. Like maybe someone who really knows us well will think it's funny, but most people will be like, "What's wrong with this person?" Like bring some.
Okay,
it
what
sounds
if
you're
I
not a-
I do a sigh with a word? Like, all right.
No, it sounds bad. Like it
Okay.
It sounds like you don't want to be here.
I mean, by the second hour, kidding.
All right,
All right.
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah! Yes! Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Keeping Karlsson Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the longest running fantasy hockey podcast in the world, hosted by two guys, one of whom officially highly dislikes Nico Dawes. Brian, I'm at a point now where I'm thinking this person is. I don't generally have. Sometimes people ask us questions of who's on your do not draft list. I'm like, I don't have that concept. If someone at the right point of the draft or the right point, I'm going to add. I'm really getting close to being like, I hate this person. But anyway, he's blown it 2 games in a row. But with me to talk about him and a whole bunch of other players, I'm Elon Dubrovsky. We're going to have a really fun show today because I am with the Poobah Prognostication, the IPP MVP, the fantasy hockey robot himself, Brian Com. So happy to talk to you, Brian. How's it going?
Hey, so good. Thanks for asking. I'm happy to be here. After all my belly aching last week that I said I was going to lose, like it was whatever, I only lost on an empty net assist from Mason McTavish. With the Ducks had the extra attacker out on the last, or no, I think it was the second last goal because Nyquist had an empty netter after. But I would have won, and I barely I was really kicking myself had I just made one simple move. Anyway,
It's kind of like a brag. It's kind of like I'm so good at this.
Yeah,
that even
no,
when I
it
don't
actually,
try, I almost win.
well, part of it is hey, I host a fantasy hockey podcast. I feel like I need to have some cred here. And I worry what it looks like. I'm like, yeah, I lost again. Anyway, I should have won last week. And I'm winning this week. So I'm counting last week as a win.
Okay.
And this week is everyone's Yahoo's counting as a win. So what could be wrong? Feeling great.
2-game winning streak. That's awesome, Brian. Let's keep it going until next week. I'm winning Mike a couple matchup as well. I'm pretty confident that if I win the next 2 weeks, I could sneak into the playoffs, just looking at the people ahead of me. But next week I'm playing the top seeded team, so this is good. And then the following week I'm playing the last place team, or among the last. So next week is a big one. But anyways, no one cares about that, or maybe they do. If you care, well, if you guys care, Brian and I are going to be doing a patron cast in 2 days on Tuesday, where we do talk more about ourselves, our personal lives, sometimes not even about hockey. But it's not up to us what we talk about. The patrons throw us questions. Our rule is we answer every single question. We're not allowed to leave until we answer them all. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the patrons have for us in a couple days. Not too late, by the way, if you're a patron of Keeping Karlsson, to go throw your question into the February Patron Cast Questions channel. Yes, I'm aware it's March, but this is how we do. And if you're not a patron, not too late to sign up. Come join us live in a couple days, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. But Brian, another thing I'll mention before we get into our content and the premise for today's show, Keeping Karlsson very proudly presented by DobberHockey.com. So cool to be able to say that every day. I've used that site since long before we started doing the podcast, and I still use it all the time. I read the articles, and I love frozen tools. It's the best. So check it out, DobberHockey.com. But okay, Brian, so once again, we're going to go through all the teams. I got a couple players I want to ask you about on every single team in the NHL. But the plan for today is I really like this website called GameDayTweets.com. I made it with a friend. Well, I made it myself, but a friend of mine, Shams, goes in and helps me retweet things. He does a lot of retweets. And I was thinking, we could just look through the stream because, again, we're like right now, we care about what's happening now, right? Like, it doesn't matter, big long-term trends. We need to all win our matchups ASAP to get into the playoffs. So I'm thinking we're just going to go down the list of the latest tweets that Shams has retweeted. And then when we hit a new team, we'll talk about them. I think it'll be fun. And also, we get to kind of see what's the latest going on and see what's in Shams' mind. What we could also judge as we go through what Shams deems as a worthy retweet. And we could for each one be like, would I have retweeted that or not? So a fun little meta game. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Shams can take it. I hope this is not Shams' last episode with Keeping Carlson as either an audience or Short Shifts host or Game Day Tweets tweeter.
Every single tweet, like, who cares? Next. And then, okay, so anyways, yeah, with that, let's get started, pal. So I'm going to refresh right now, gamedaytweets.com. Normally, by the way, the site is sorted. Like, you can go into just line tweets, just news tweets. You could just look at the goalie start tweets, and those are organized, to see like who's playing in each game. I'm just doing the all. So we'll just see everything, and we'll see what's interesting to talk about. So right now, it's 8:03 p.m. on Sunday. Just recently, looks like we had a tweet from the Ducks that Cam Fowler is back in. Mason McTavish still out. Brian, Mason McTavish, the guy who screwed you last week with that empty net assist. Did you yell curses Mason McTavish, and then that actually jinxed him and put a curse on him, and that's why he's injured?
Yes, precisely.
Okay, well, so he's out. This is like not great news, right, for the Ducks. Like if I scroll down a little more, I see the Derek Lee Ducks lines, and so don't forget they're already also missing Zegras, and Leo Karlsson got injured recently. So the Ducks are a little shorthanded. They did get Troy Terry back, so that's good. The lines for today: Henrique, Killorn, and Max Jones are the top line, and then you've got Terry with Vetrano and Strome. So the way I see it, this team has like Vetrano and Terry are your stars. But Henrique has been like so good lately. I think we agree at this point that Henrique should be rostered in pretty much all leagues, especially next week with Anaheim having a pretty darn good schedule, playing Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, all off-day games. And then, I guess you have another tier of Killorn, who probably makes for a really good stream as well if he's not rostered in your league. And then, then you have a bunch of guys. Like, I don't know. Is it an interesting question for me to ask you, Brian? Like, if you could have either Max Jones playing with Henrique and Killorn or Ryan Strome playing with Vetrano and Terry, I don't know. What's the better third wheel to have?
I don't know. I think I would. First off, I'm shocked that we're starting with Anaheim tonight. Like, notoriously one of the least covered teams. So like the teams with the lowest volume of tweets. So that we're starting with them is a shock to the system. I think I'll go with Max Jones only because I'm just looking at his last couple games. He's got 7 shots and he had 5 hits against New Jersey on Friday. And that is some peripheral production that you could only dream of generally for Ryan Strome. So I'll go ahead and say Max Jones because maybe he's going to get me some shots or hits or maybe both. And I think they might have an equal-ish chance of pointing.
By the way, we should mention Frank Vetrano. His amazing season has just continued, and he's been his name's been coming up in trade rumors. He's not even a pending UFA, right? He still has another year on his amazing value contract, $3.65 million. So who knows if by next week we'll be talking about Frank Vetrano on a new team. But yeah, I think that covers the Ducks. I don't know if there's too much to say. I guess I should mention that Gibson is injured today at the very last minute. So Dostal is playing. He had that amazing 52 saves game recently. He does this every once in a while, right? But overall, he hasn't been too reliable of a stream. But I think Dostal, I think it's Dostal. Whenever Victor says it, he says Dostal. But I think that he's the kind of guy in my mind now where it's generally I'm not going to stream him in. But if I'm losing by a lot and I need a home run, I feel like he's a good home run pick. Kind of like Vejmelka was a couple years ago whenever he would play the Leafs.
Maybe, yeah. It is this apparent skill Dostal has. I feel like I'm saying Kraftwerk instead of Kraftwerk. But I what can you do, right? You can stream in Dostal. I can't say it, Elon. It's too. It feels a little try hard.
Do what feels right to you.
I'll have to hear the Ducks commentators say it first, with apologies to Victor. But the story isn't just in net with Anaheim; it's their offense. Like they have so many injuries, and I'm just looking over their last 8 games here. They have 29 goals, like almost 4 goals per game. They are shooting like 15%. So that's part of it. 6 power play goals and 22 opportunities in their last 8. So there's some unsustainable scoring, which is great, and not what I would have expected from a lineup that is hit pretty hard with injuries and continues to get hit even harder. So I don't know how much offense we can really expect. Even though they've been on a roll, I'm not sure that it'll continue. So if you're asking me about streaming Anaheim players, yeah, you could try Max Jones or Ryan Strome, but you also just might want to check out what your other options are.
Yeah, I think like really it's like you're looking for like a Henrique if you can get him. Though keep in mind if you're going to stream an Adam Henrique for that Monday, or sorry for that, if you're going to stream an Adam Henrique or even Alex Killorn for that Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Henrique is also like he's a pending UFA, right? So he definitely could get traded to another team with the season he's been having. What a resurgence for the 34-year-old Adam Henrique, 6 points in his last 4 games, up to a 58-point pace on the season. I remember talking about him like really early on in the podcast, Brian. Like he had a breakout season when he first started in New Jersey, and I remember that he like wasn't able to keep that up, and it's been a long time. But anyways, let's go on to our next tweet here. So I'm seeing here, I don't recognize this beat writer. Jordan LaBarber tweeted about JJ Paterka, who scored a goal today. So we have some stats tweets. We have news tweets, then we also have stats tweets, but they both go into the news section on the website, but they're from different Twitter accounts if anyone cares what's behind the scenes. But yeah, Paterka scored today, and the tweet says that he has 20 goals in a season for the first time in his young career. So congrats to JJ Paterka getting that goal today in this game against the Jets, which is still ongoing. The player I want to ask you about, Brian, because I feel like we disregarded him pretty quickly. The last time I brought him up is Owen Power, who came back from his injury. This is, by the way, of course, our first overall pick a couple years ago. And he came back from that injury, and I was like, oh, is there anything, and I was asked like in a joking way because I knew the answer was no, because he's been like a nothing, all season. And so far in his young career, it's only his second season. Anyways, he had a goal in his first game back against Carolina, an assist in the next game versus Florida, then a couple games later versus Vegas. Yesterday, 1 goal and 2 assists for Owen Power in the huge, 7-2 win for Buffalo over Vegas. And yeah, and now they're playing today. I mean, you got to imagine at some point this first overall super high pedigree prospect is going to break out. Are we witnessing it now, or do you think it's just a mirage?
I was going to ask a sarcastic question, but it actually wasn't. Like the answer would not have been what I expected. And the question was going to be, well, was Owen Power on the top power play tonight? And that would be my answer. And like so far, yes. After the first period, he's seen 100% of the power play time for Buffalo. And on Saturday, Owen Power also saw 100% of the power play time for Buffalo. It was just 24 seconds, and I believe they scored within after 24 seconds. So like really, that's my that's my Owen Power line, right? And on the flip side, Rasmus Dahlin has no power play time either on Saturday or today yet, and he's actually been like extremely cold on the power play. I'm just trying to count it up here. Dahlin has, I think, 2 power play points in his last, 30 games, maybe, or 3 power play points in his last 30. Like they're not coming, and we know like this has been a bit of a challenge for him through the season. Although he still has 18 power play points through 61, but I guess Buffalo decided to change things up, and if Owen Power can like make something happen from the top power play, then maybe he gets to stay there. He did have a power play point on Saturday night, but in that 24-second stint, that was the only opportunity Buffalo had. So we'll see if he can do something similar tonight and hold the role for another game. So long as he does, could be an exciting time for him. I really don't expect it to be something that really is a long-term thing, Power replacing Dahlin on the top power play. But in the short term, if you're in need of offense or power play points, sure. But there's also still 0 peripherals or anything else to speak of from Power.
Yeah, and also I really don't think that what you're saying is like what happened. Like it looks like that power play yesterday that was 24 seconds had Power, Skinner, Paterka, Okposo, and Middlestat. So I don't know, Tage Thompson wasn't there. I don't know, Dalino. Maybe if they're doing a Pittsburgh thing, and like I don't, doesn't look to me like a top power play. Maybe they're doing a 1A 1B. I guess we'll need to see more than 24 seconds. We'll see how it goes tonight. But yeah, I guess something to watch. Yeah, if Buffalo's going to do funky things with their power play, then maybe that's going to raise Power's value. And yeah, I do think at some point there's going to be a time where he's going to break out and it won't slow down, but I'm probably not expecting this to be the time. So yeah, I wouldn't be jumping on him unless there's something like really significant changing in his deployment. All right, let's keep looking down. GameDayTweets.com. What a beautiful
Hey,
website.
I thought you were going to shout out Ukko-Pekka.
Oh yeah, I got to. Yeah, well, I was gonna cry about it. So I joined Victor for his dynasty league. Now I'm gonna call it his league because I'm not happy about what happened here. But I joined his league, and we had Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen on the team. And Victor and I were both under the impression, but I mean, I don't know, mostly Victor, that UPL was like not going to be a significant player even this year because it was looking right like Devin Levi was going to go into the season as the starter. And so yeah, we in the offseason decided to trade UPL for Korpisalo. It's not a contract league, so it's not like we had to take on this big Korpisalo contract, but the idea was let's get the sure starter on a great looking Ottawa Senators team versus who's probably going to be the backup on Buffalo, even if he's a little younger. Anyways, that really blew up in our face because Korpisalo is really not great, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is turning into one of the top goalies to have going into our fantasy playoffs right now. He plays almost all the time. Like he's not playing today because it was a back-to-back, but he had a great win yesterday over Vegas, like we discussed. And yeah, just great start after great start after great start. UPL might be like one of the better young goalies in the league. Who knows for how long, but at least for the rest of this season, I'd be all over him. Like, I don't see a reason. Well, I guess that's where I throw to you, Brian. Like, hey, it's a goalie. Who knows? But like, how can you not like what you're seeing from UPL?
Gotta love what we're seeing from UPL because we've never really seen it before from him. Since January 13th, Luukkonen has started in 17 games, and 14 of those have been quality. That's nuts. That's incredible. He usually can't string together 2 or 3 quality starts, let alone 14 in 17. Luukkonen has a .932 save percentage and only a record of 10-7 for all the work that Luukkonen's been putting in. But this is easily, the longest sustained success UPL has had in his career. Presently, on the whole season, he's a top 10 goalie in the NHL this year and performance above expected, Fenwick save percentage, and he's just outside the top 10 in 5-on-5 save percentage, which, I'd say the flip side of this as well, it's, good for Luukkonen. I might also suggest that it's also good for Devin Levi, who can just take his time to develop. He's a .926 in the AHL this year, so maybe just some more confidence building there would be helpful. I'm not a goalie developer. Gosh,
No, I mean,
wouldn't that be one of the worst jobs?
No, I don't know. Kat Silverman had a really good interview on the Fantasy Hockey Life podcast recently that I listened to, and she was all about like these goalies need time in the AHL. Like they shouldn't be rushed in. So I know for sure she would be very happy about this for Levi's development. And yeah, so maybe one day there's a challenge. By then, who knows who's even on what team? But yeah, for now, UPL is crushing it. And good for him and good for the smart manager who made this trade with Victor and I, because I would definitely trade back now, but I don't think that offer is on the table. Okay, so I guess we've continuing to scroll down here. We got a line tweet from the Canucks for their game against the Ducks today. Man, Vancouver's really shaking things up, didn't it? I think we talked about this last week, right? About how Elias Lindholm, we thought it was going to be such a sure thing. Look at these lines, like Pettersson with Pugh, Suter, and Höglander, then Miller, Besser, and Mikheyev. I recall like Mikheyev was with Pettersson for a lot of the season, but that's gone. And then Lindholm on the third line with Podkolzin and Garland. This is also not like bringing up the fact that their power plays have been totally wonky, kind of like what I was saying about Pittsburgh and maybe Buffalo now. Like in the last game against LA, they were rolling with Besser and Miller on one power play with Garland and Pugh Suter, and I guess Quinn Hughes. So I'd call Quinn Hughes the top power play. But it's kind of weird if Pettersson's not there. But Pettersson was on the other one with Lindholm, Höglander, and Arshdeep Bains. So I don't know. You never expect these things to hold, but right now it's really tricky to sort of sink your teeth into any Canuck player. Like I guess you just kind of go Miller, Besser, and Pettersson are good, and Quinn Hughes. And aside from that, I don't know. Like I'm not that into. Like maybe Lindholm will do something at some point. Maybe some of these other guys will benefit, but at this point, I'm not into anybody aside from the big four.
Yeah, it definitely knocks a little bit out of the wind of our hopes for Lindholm because like part of him succeeding in Vancouver would be holding a spot on the top power play, and the top power play doesn't exist. Like a 50-50 split is not a great thing for anyone, even the Stars, I'd say. And what's even worse about this 50-50 split power play is Vancouver has scored a power play goal now in 3 straight, and I know they've been doing this for at least a couple games. I'm not sure if it's been all 3. So like I said, not great news for anybody hoping for big outings in Vancouver. It's like what we've been talking about in Detroit for a bunch of the year, right? When they've been splitting their power play. So just kind of a shame.
Yeah, by the way, Shams is correcting me. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen also starting today, even though he started yesterday. I just assumed he wasn't, but I guess they're giving him the back-to-back. So far, 2-1 for Buffalo halfway through the game. So we'll see how that works out versus Winnipeg. Also, I'm seeing in this Vancouver-Anaheim game that's already started, Alex Killorn has already scored a goal. So, and assisted by Max Jones, Brian. That was your choice. Max Jones
Nailed
over
it.
Ryan Strome. So you got that one right. All right, let's continue down this list here. More Canucks stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. More Ducks stuff. Brian, you, it's at the official Anaheim Ducks account, and Derek Lee really pulling the load for the Ducks information. We're getting a lot of it right now, so that's fun. Alex Stalock was called up, I guess, because Gibson is sick. So Gibson gets sick all the time. I don't know. He's like he does not stick in the lineup for a full season ever. But anyway, here we go. Now we've got a Minnesota Wild tweet. Joe Smith, NHL. He used to be with Tampa. He was somewhere else, I think. But anyway, Wild officially announced Zuccarello is out for personal reasons. Mermis will be in as the 7th defenseman. Okay, so that's just a short-term thing, but I guess that is an opportunity to talk about the Wild, who, like, I looked on Frozen Tools. I like to use that as a little guide to help plan the show to see who's hot, who's cold. They only have one hot player listed, and it's Ryan Hartman. He's on a nice little run, like 4 points in his last 4 games. But, like, where's everybody else? What's going on in Minnesota? They stopped scoring goals?
Yeah, they did. They had just 4 goals this week. And so I think that's why nobody has pointed. So it's been the team is shooting 4.5% in Minnesota. So that's going to hurt. They're 0 for 8 on the power play over 3 games, which is still like I'd expect like 3 power play opportunities per game, which they didn't quite get. And really that's all there is. Connor Dewar has scored half the team's goals this week, and the other 2 were scored by D-men, Jonas Brodin and Jonathan Merrill, or John, I think is how he's commonly known. So that's not a lot of schmoles, very few goals, and of those goals, it's basically 100% schmoll ratio in Minnesota this week. So just hold on, write this one off, and look for your Wild to hopefully start producing again next week. Again, I'd still just focus on the top line, who at least still continued shooting, and then Zuccarello on that top power play.
Man, yeah. Well, my opponent next week in Cupful has Joel Eriksson X, so I wouldn't mind if they can continue that cold streak a little longer. But it sounds like you're saying you're not worried about your Kaprizovs, X, Boldies, etc. Just not scoring on their still plentiful amount of shots.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's do another one here. Continuing down the list, Max Miller tweeted about the Sharks. William Eklund won't play tonight due to illness. Kevin LeBanc draws in. Luke Kunin will play center. I also saw that Kalen Addison is playing forward now, which for a second I was like, oh, does that make him more valuable in fantasy if he's going to get a forward eligibility? But then it's like, no, it's the D that's more rare. So I don't think it helps anyone that Kalen Addison is, unless like he somehow starts scoring like a forward. But also if you're scoring like a forward on San Jose, that's not really worth much. Like Granlund has been a pretty reliable forward on this team, especially now with Hurdle and Couture out. He's probably the only one I'm interested in. The other news out there is Blackwood is hurt, but apparently that's going to be short term. Magnus Krona had a good game yesterday, but again, short term. So I don't know, Brian, unless you have something to say about San Jose, I don't really have anything super noteworthy to update on anything we've talked about them recently.
I will say that, maybe it's showcase season in San Jose, right? The trade deadline's coming up. And one guy I noticed who's stepped up recently was Anthony Duclair. He had a 3-point night against Anaheim on Thursday and has 9 shots in his last 2 games, 20 minutes a night, and top power play deployment. So he might be I'd at least put him on my maybe worth a stream list on nights that the Sharks are playing if he helps add a GP to your lineup. And then a little Mikael Granlund update. While everybody's injured, he's got 6 points in 8 games since returning from injury himself. He's on the top power play. I mean, as good deployment as you can get in San Jose, so still remaining relevant, which is I'd say pretty impressive for both Mikael Granlund and on that Sharks team. Oh, and also, I don't know if you caught it, but Kalen Addison took like a shift at right wing.
I said that. I said that to start the thing.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so just skip that.
Okay. Yeah, it's especially impressive for Granlund considering he was like a laughing stock last year. Like everyone was like making fun of how Pittsburgh made this terrible acquisition, and now he's like the most reliable guy on the team lately. Like what a great turnaround. I'd feel very happy with myself if I was Mikael Granlund, just being like, "Ha, I showed all of you. I still got it." Okay, so we'll see how long he can keep this up. But I'd be down to grab Granlund in fantasy if there's a good week ahead. All right, Brian, let's take a break. And then when we come back, we'll continue down this fun list of what Shams has been feeding us over at GameDayTweets.com. So we'll be back in just a sec. Talk to you soon. Okay, we are... I can't not say okay. Right. Welcome back to Keeping Karlsson. I'm Elon Dubrowski, here with Brian Kom, talking through the NHL and what's going on over the past week to try to give us the leg up in our fantasy leagues. By the way, shout out to Jeremy Versillo, who dropped an awesome episode of Matchup Maximizer yesterday to help you get the leg up in your head-to-head matchups for next week. So if you want to focus specifically on next week's schedule, then definitely check out that episode. That is in our feed. But Brian, I'm continuing down GameDayTweets.com. We got some Jets lines today. Of course, the news out of Winnipeg is that Gabe Vilardi is injured. Cole Perfetti has been a healthy scratch. He was already covered on short shifts this week, and they correctly, I'm sure you'll agree, said that like he's an obvious drop. So yeah, all of a sudden, with Vilardi and Perfetti out of the top six when they were mainstays for a lot of the season, today they're rolling with Ehlers, Scheifele, and Connor on the top line. Then Monahan is with Iafallo and Nemesnikov, and then yeah, not the most exciting list of names as you continue down the list. Oh, I guess Perfetti was a scratch in the last game. He is playing today, but he's playing on the fourth line with Barron and Gustafsson. So yeah, I guess what I like here is that Ehlers is back on the top line, and Ehlers has actually been pretty good lately. And I feel like I do a bad job like of this just because whenever we talk about Winnipeg, I just talk about Ehlers because it's just Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. It's just so like, what are you really going to say? Like, even when they go cold, you're not too worried. But Ehlers is someone who I know, like, a lot of people are, like, worried about. Sometimes he goes cold, he goes hot. So right now he's on a hot streak. I like, not to say that I like that Vilardi is injured, but Ehlers 4 points in his last 4 games. We'll see how he does today. And, yeah, I'm just not too worried about him, especially while he's playing with Scheifele and Connor on the top line.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Ehlers has at least rewarded that faith that I barely held on to the last time we spoke about him. 7 points in 6 games and 1 power play point, which we said, like, he needs those power play points to start coming. That was the whole reason to be like, yeah, maybe this could work. But I think, well, anyway, I feel at least a little right, but also I am still definitely not about to consider myself absolutely right, because with Nick Ehlers, gosh, he comes and he goes. So let's hope he stays for a while this time.
Yeah, just next week, please, at least. I just want to get into the playoffs. It'll be so fun. Come on. Okay, so next up, we've got a lot of Sabres and Jets tweets. Obviously, before the game, that's when like a lot of news comes out. So Shams was there before these games started. But then if I scroll a bit, we get to a tweet by Russell Morgan, LA Kings beat writer. Obviously, the Kings had a huge win today, 5-1 over New Jersey, getting my nemesis Nico Dawes pulled for the last time while he's on my couple roster. That's for sure. I'm glad that I had this week in hand. I'd be really frustrated with the second straight negative. But yeah, the tweet from Russell Morgan is about Kevin Fiala, who had another big game today. Fiala ended up, it was 5-1, right, for the Kings over the Devils, and Fiala had 1 goal and 2 assists. By the way, Phil Deneau had a hat trick, so a big game from that line. And yeah, the tweet from Russell Morgan is that Kevin Fiala now has 8 points and is a +7 in his last 3 games, which is insane. It's so wild, Brian, that just a couple weeks ago, I feel like we were talking about how, like, where is second half Fiala? Isn't he supposed to show up now? He's always so much better in the second half. He's definitely shown up since then. He's crushing it. And yeah, we're definitely at a point where you just want exposure to Fiala if you can. So yeah, the line today was Moore, Fiala, and Deneau. So, for people who were starting to lose faith in Trevor Moore, he's got 5 points in his last 4 games. And yeah, Deneau, we just saw this hat trick. So yeah, if I'd say Fiala's probably not available in your league, but at this point, give me Moore, give me Deneau, give me anyone near second half Fiala.
Sure. Yeah, exposed to Fiala is a good thing. On the top line, can I just also mention someone who's getting some new exposure is Alex Turcotte. He hasn't done anything from there, but I don't know if you recall, 5th overall in 2019. This is Turcotte's 4th year as a pro. Staying healthy seems to have been a challenge for him. He's basically playing like 30 games a season, and this year he's up about 40 games for I think the first time since turning pro. And in the AHL, he hasn't even been that great. He's got 7 goals and 16 assists for 23 points in 30 games, and so I wonder if this is a bit of a showcase moment. I like this. That's the theory for
That's your
like
thing.
everybody right now, right? Like just all these guys being showcased, and like I would imagine that Turcotte would be somebody that the Kings would try and dangle to see if they can get some immediate help for a run now.
Yeah, well, I guess he's taking Kempe's spot, even though they were shaking things around a little bit. But yeah, especially if Kempe is hurt long term, then the Kings will probably want to get someone. What is the latest on Adrian Kempe? Let me just scroll down a little bit, of course, or no, I'll just search by player here. And oh, sorry, couldn't do it fast enough, so I'll have to make an edit point. And yeah, the latest yesterday was no updates from Jim Hiller on the status of Victor Arvidsson, Mikey Anderson, and Adrian Kempe. They're all considered week to week. So yeah, it's going to be a while for Kempe. Obviously Arvidsson. So yeah, the Kings are down some players. Maybe they don't want to trade Turcotte unless they can get a couple bodies back in return because they, need to fill these lineup spots right now. It's too bad. By the way, I guess another couple of guys I'll mention quickly, just because I don't think we've talked too much about Drew Doughty this season. He's been really picking it up lately, and he's someone who's obviously been around forever since we started doing the podcast. Generally, you know what you're getting with this guy. And this season, for the most part, he was doing his typical like 50-ish point D-man thing. But lately, you look at that game log over the last 9 games, I'm counting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points. Like Doughty, I should say, is just like doing stuff every single game, lots of points. I'm assuming you're going to say it's unsustainable, but he is on the top power play. He always gets the good exposure. Who knows? I'm hoping he can keep this up for the rest of the season.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I mean, I have Doughty, and like you said, he's been kind of there this season, but not all the way. But yeah, now with 11 points in 9 games, that's fantastic for Doughty at the moment. Obviously, that's not going to sustain, but can the bigger things sustain? Well, one of the things is that he picked up 6 power play points in his last 9 games, which is much needed. Doughty's on a 52-point pace overall this season, but has been seeing generally less power play success compared to last year. Now with those 6 power play points in Doughty's last 9 games, he's got 17, which puts him on pace to still fall about 4 or 5 points shy of last year's power play production for Drew Doughty. So I would like to see the power play production keep coming. The 5-on-5 production has been fine, like not the best of his career, but also not the worst. It's been really on the power play where I think he's been falling back a little bit more. And just a little fun Drew Doughty fact: he tied his career high with his 14th goal of the season this past Thursday. So one more, Drew Doughty, new heights at this stage in his career. Way to go!
Doesn't that mean he should win another Norris Trophy if he does better than he did even in his Norris winning season?
I mean, he shouldn't have even won the first one.
I know. That's all. I just wanted you to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, he's going to get a lot of power play points if he's playing on the power play with second half Fiala. It all comes together. Also, by the way, Brian, Cam Talbot, he's back. He had that win today, only letting 1 goal. That's 2 straight really good games for him. So, yeah, I just saw a tweet today, like with a quote from Cam Talbot saying that, like, sometimes it's just in your head and, you get some confidence having one good game and building on it. So we'll see. Maybe he's like now back to the Cam Talbot at the start of the season. So it'll be interesting to see this ping pong between him and Riddick for the rest of the way. But for now, probably advantage Talbot. Obviously, that could change very quickly. Also, the other funny thing I noticed, remember when we talked last week about Matt Roy having a 10-shot game? He followed that up with 3 straight 0-shot games. It's like he used up all his shots. It's so weird. How does this happen?
It happens when a guy who never shoots suddenly shoots for a few games, and then he goes back to doing.
But it was one game
for the other 95% of his career. Yeah, it was one game.
What was he doing in that game?
I don't know. You know what? Someone like this is why Keeping Karlsson needs a presence in the press gallery.
I would love to ask that. I'd be like, "Hey, Matt, that would be such a good question, right? It's like you took 10 shots 3 games ago. You haven't taken a shot since. What changed? Like, did you change your mind? Did you realize that wasn't how you want to play? Have you been trying to shoot and now just for whatever reason you just can't get anything through?" Yeah, I mean, It's interesting. Anyhow, Shams is already letting us know in the chat here. Ehlers back on the second line with Nemesnikov going to line 1. Ehlers just whatever.
That's crazy. Why did they even start him on the first line? Okay, Nick, go take that first shift.
Well, hey, I mean, Buffalo's winning 2-1, so I guess the Jets need to change something up.
I wonder. I'm actually just going to take one amazing feature of Frozen Tools is when you check the game lines, you can see how lines are performing in the shot share and shot attempt share battle. And so I'm like, are they getting like filled in? And the answer is no. Like Ehlers, Connor Scheifele, were out.
Well, what about the second line? Maybe they need Ehlers to help out the other one.
I was gonna get there.
Oh, sorry, I was
gonna get there. 4-1 in shots, 6-4 in shot attempts for the top line, and then the line that Ehlers and Nemesnikov are changing also was winning. Like it was even. What the?
Even doesn't cut it. They need to win. I don't know. I'm not a coach.
All right.
Sorry, I don't know. They're losing the game. Anyway, well, that's a good question as bonus also after the game. Why did you switch up the lines? You think someone will ask him that? That seems like a reasonable question even a normal journalist would ask.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even ask, why did you switch up the lines? I would say, why did Nick Ehlers start the game on the first line and then he was on the second line by the second period?
Yeah, I'd love to know.
Yeah.
All right, so let's continue down. GDT.com. Should I buy GDT? That's probably taken. The acronym for game day tweets, I'd imagine. If not, no one's allowed to buy it. Okay, good. Brian, make sure that we get that.
Oh, yeah, it's some nonsense company.
Okay, we won't promote it then. Don't go to GDT.com. This is not a paid advertisement. Okay, so I'm scrolling down. UPL is going to start today. Columbus Blue Jackets tweet from Jeff Svoboda, one of the best. I know when I see a Jeff Svoboda tweet in my timeline, I know I'm going to get some good information, which is what I like to see, and then I retweet that 9 times out of 9. I don't know why I picked that. Anyway, what was the news here? Kent Johnson to the IR. He has a torn labrum in his shoulder. Will have surgery this week. Will miss the rest of the season. I mean, that stinks. He was doing so well in the AHL. Not as well in the NHL, but he'll be someone to remember for next year for sure. Jet Greaves added on emergency recall because Elvis Merzlikins is day-to-day with an upper body injury. I was going to talk to you, Brian, about how Elvis Merzlikins is doing so well. Maybe now's a good opportunity to stash him in your IR if you can, and hopefully it's a short-term thing, and he can help you when he comes back, and you just get him now for free. I don't know, just an idea that comes to my head. Of course, Brian, I also just want to give you more opportunities to do your victory lap from your great call now 2 weeks ago. Jack Roslovic continues to produce. And when we talked about Jack Roslovic last week, we were talking about how he did really well in that amazing schedule week for Columbus. But the only downside, he was on the top line with Jenner and Gaudreau, everything good. But he wasn't like getting power play. But it's like, okay, well, beggars can't be choosers. You're still getting like a lot of good production. Now, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, after having like 0% power play time for 3 games, Roslovic now has been on the top power play. And he continues to produce. He had a power play assist, and against Carolina a couple days ago, 2 assists versus Chicago on Saturday. He's been taking 3 shots every single game for the last 4 games, which I like to see. So Jack Roslovic, I'm more into him now. I still assume he's not going to be someone that's going to stay on Micah Cupful roster for the whole rest of the season. But for a while, he was like, I'm going to hold him until he has like 1 bad game and then let him go. But now I think he's earning a little bit of rope here. I mean, assuming he sticks on that line with Jenner and Gaudreau, of course.
Yeah, well, he's been there a while, and he's producing from there. So why wouldn't Roslovic stay on that line? 10 points in 9 games, 5 straight games for Roslovic with 3 or more shots on goal. And he's even had, like, just a little bit of meaningful power play time sprinkled in there, too, lately. This is definitely the best sustained deployment of Roslovic's career and probably the best sustained production. So, yeah, like he's a gotta-have guy right now. As for Merzlikins, it is a bummer that he's gone day-to-day. Since including the game leading into the All-Star break, Merzlikins is a .914 goalie and has 5 quality starts out of 7 total starts, which is great. That's easily the best run of Elvis's season. So it's a bit of a shame that he's day-to-day, but I think Columbus, plays back-to-back early this week, so let's see if he can return in time to handle one of those starts.
Yeah, and if not, you could take a chance on Jet Greaves, I guess, and a Tarasov. I don't know. Good luck to you if you make that choice. I mean, Jet Greaves is cool. Like, I mean, he's not terrible. I mean, maybe he's okay.
If his name wasn't Jet Greaves, I'm not sure you would have just said Jet Greaves is cool.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been around I guess not that long, but I feel like he's been around in our like I people on our Discord. I feel like really like his name and mention him every chance they get whenever he
Yeah,
gets
I
a chance
think
in the NHL.
yeah, but he and Tarasov could and Elvis could all blow you up. Like starting for Columbus is not like that's a risky proposition. So I assume if you're going to try one of them, you know that. But if you don't, now you do.
Okay. Continuing to scroll here. This is like fun. This is like okay. You know, how, like there's that saying doom scrolling, and people just spend their time. What's like the opposite of doom scrolling? Because that's my time. On
Boom
the keeping
scrolling.
yeah, I love scrolling on my Twitter feed because it's just all these great beat writers. But you can just scroll. It's like scrolling Twitter, but like it's only the very best things over at Game Day Tweets. Not look. We don't even make any money off this website. Okay, so don't be all like. I just like. I'm just excited about it. Okay, I think it's. I think we did something here. And Shams is obviously doing a great job with all these retweets. But anyways, okay, let's keep going. Amanda Stein tweeted some Devils warm-up lines before their game where they got destroyed today. So this is like an image before impending disaster. But yeah, they started the game with Hischier, Bratt, and Meyer on the top line. I wanted to come in today, Brian, and talk to you about Timo Meyer getting a run on the top line. Let me check a game or a frozen pool, I should say, to see if that even lasted. I mean, seems like Meyer, Hischier, and Bratt got 6 minutes and 42 seconds, the most of any line. But yeah, I wonder if for the next game something will change because obviously this game versus LA did not go well. But yeah, Timo, for what it's worth, scored a goal, the only goal of the game for the Devils, and that brings him now to 4 points in his last 3 games. He also had 4 shots today and 9 shots on Friday versus Anaheim, where he scored a goal there also. So for the people who were patient with Timo Meyer, this is what you were hoping for, right? Like playing on the top line with Hischier and Jesper Bratt is pretty great. A lot better than when he was on the third line for a long stretch with like Haula and Mercer or whoever it was, Curtis Lazar. So yeah, we'll see how long this lasts. I wonder. Yeah, I guess I would be afraid right now. Not that you could do anything about it, but I would be worried that maybe it's time for the Devils to shake something up beyond just trading for a goaltender, which they clearly need to do if they want to still, if they still even think there's a reason to at this point. They're falling out of this playoff spot pretty quickly. But if they, because they also lost on Friday, right, to Anaheim. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna work out for the Devils this year. Maybe they're just gonna stick with Dawes and Schmid and Vanacek until the summer, rather than. Anyways, I'd be curious to know what happens there. We'll find out soon. But yeah, Meyer, good spot. We'll see if it lasts.
Yeah, he's on a 3-game point streak, Timo Meyer, for the first time since mid-December. It's been a while. Prior to that, he'd had like 2 or 3-game point streaks, including a nice little run at the start of the season that seems so long ago. Meyer had that season-high 9 shots on Friday against Anaheim. Still on the second power play, and Elon, like you, I'm still not sold that Timo Meyer is back. Like, we'll take it, but I'm also not, I'm not sure. I want to wait and see. I'd like Meyer to show me a little bit more. You talked a lot about Dawes already in the goalie situation, so I guess I won't. Like, Elon, what I'm learning from you on, like, with your Dawes experience is that just Dawes hasn't hurt you before. And now he has. Like, this is a lot of us have been through this experience with Dawes already. Like, there is that hint of promise. He's on such a good team and he plays well. And you're like, oh, this could be the run. And then he doesn't. And like, I'm not ruling out the possibility that run happens at some point. But it's hard to keep going back to the well when it's dried up so frequently. And I think your point is very interesting. Like, New Jersey has got to make a choice pretty soon about whether or not it's even worth them trying to find another goalie this year based on their playoff positioning. It's hard to. I'm trying to think of like in the moment, it's really obvious, but I'm trying to think of another like such a disappointing season compared to projections for that a team has had. Like I like
what about the Sens?
Yeah, yeah, but the Sens like aren't worse than they were last year. Like not materially or substantially worse. Like New Jersey got worse. Like they didn't even just hold status quo. Like if New Jersey held the same regular season performance and then flamed out in the first round, like that would be like, oh, come on. Like what the heck? Like a whole year and we've learned nothing. But to not even be assured a playoff spot at this point in the season, yikes.
Yeah. I mean, with their goaltending, it's almost like at this point, if you wait till the summer, maybe you can get a UFA. But I'm looking at the list. There's not even anyone that exciting. And I guess if they trade for someone now, I don't think they should trade for a rental. they could go for like a Melka, whatever. But it's like, why even at this point? So why not just wait till the summer? So yeah, it is very disappointing and strange how they've been so bad. I guess Dougie Hamilton, I guess we forget that he was supposed to be obviously a key part of this team. So you lose like some big pieces, and maybe that makes a big difference. And obviously, yeah, they just haven't gotten the goaltending. Brian, so we'll continue scrolling down the latest news and notes from GameDayTweets.com. But first, let's take our last break of part 1. So we'll be back soon. You're listening to Keeping Karlsson. Welcome back, Brian. We're getting to tweets now from earlier this afternoon during the Capitals-Coyotes game, where in the end, the Coyotes beat the Capitals 5-2, but not before Alex Ovechkin recorded the primary assist on Sonny Milano's power play goal, which was Ovechkin's 28th assist of the season. This is a tweet from Capitals PR. Ovechkin is now 2 points shy of Paul Coffey for the 15th most points in NHL history. No one ever talks about Ovechkin's like points. That's pretty good too. We're always like caring about goals. But yeah, he had an assist on Sonny Milano. And also speaking of Sonny Milano, he that was his 3rd straight game with a goal. So that's pretty cool. Let's just check quickly to see, because I know Ovi is on like both power plays. So just because you see Ovechkin assisting on a goal on the power play doesn't mean that it was like the top power play. But yeah, I'm seeing here the most time today was Pacioretty, Milano, Ovi, and Connor McMichael. Only like a few seconds actually. It was 2 minutes and 28 seconds for that unit, and then the Wilson, Mantha, Dylan Strome, Ovechkin unit had 207, and I see John Karlsson had the lower amount. So maybe they're just, I don't know. You would think generally the John Karlsson one would be the top power play, so maybe Sonny Milano isn't power play one, though Pacioretty is good, so maybe they are just going to kind of split them 50-50. Anyway, anything to Sonny Milano? It's a nice little run he's on here. He was injured for a while. Also, have you seen pictures of him lately? As a side note, his hair is incredible.
Oh, okay. That's the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, are you talking about his player headshot, or like, are you talking about live game action?
Like I saw some tweets just today of him, and it's just like when he lets his flow
both are
go into
good.
the air, incredible.
Both are good.
But, yeah, goals in 3 straight for Sonny Milano.
Yeah,
not many shots.
That's it. Those 3 goals have come on 4 shots. Like Washington has a couple guys on shooting heaters. You've got Milano. You also had Hendrix Lapierre, who in back-to-back games last Monday and Tuesday, he went 3 for 3 over a couple games, 3 goals on 3 shots. Then picked up a couple assists on Friday, but isn't a big shooter, right? Hendrix Lapierre, by the way, still maybe a little more pedigree and room for growth than Milano, although maybe further from growing than Milano, including in the hair. Lapierre's 22 years old and was drafted 22nd overall, Elon's favorite, part of the first round in 2020. Lapierre has 17 points in 21 games this year with AHL Hershey, and that's okay. So we'll see if Lapierre can keep making anything, but I'd like to see shooting. I'd like to see shooting from anyone, which isn't really happening. Tom Wilson showing some faint signs of life in the lineup too, which is great for anybody desperately hanging on to him. But I still don't know that this necessitates hanging on to Tom Wilson, if I'm being honest.
I mean, today it was Lapierre with Ovi and Wilson. So I mean, that is if Wilson is back with Ovechkin, that's good. Of course, Washington got beaten by Arizona, which is not good for a team that still maybe thinks of themselves as a potential playoff contender. So maybe again, just kind of like what I was saying with Timo Meier, let's don't jump on Lapierre or feel super excited about Tom Wilson playing with Ovechkin, because that could definitely change. I'm seeing it was only 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Probably the lines were getting blended a little bit with them trying to get something going. One guy I'm just excited to see doing so well, I just wanted to mention Max Pacioretty. 5 points in his last 5 games. Now, no points today, but, it looked like maybe he wouldn't play again, 2 super serious injuries like that. But he's come back this year, and he started pretty slow. But lately, he's not looking like the Pacioretty of old. The shots aren't there, but he's figuring out other ways to contribute, right? And he's getting points. He's getting assists. He's even scoring every once in a while, throwing some hits I'm seeing. So that's exciting. He's going to be a UFA after this season. I wonder if Washington will extend him or if some other team takes a shot. It looks like we're not done with the Max Pacioretty experience at age 35, so good for him.
Yeah, again, he's somebody else who I'd like to see more sustainable production from. Pacioretty's 4-game point streak ended today, Sunday. He's playing on the second power play unit, only has 7 shots in his last 4 games. So, well, it's been nice to see that 4-game point streak until the shots start coming and like some top. I mean, it doesn't really matter if Pacioretty's on the top power play, right? Because like it's Ovechkin's to just fire away on. So the second power play might be the best case scenario for Pacioretty, but he's still not.
Ovechkin's there too, Brian. FYI.
Oh, where?
Ovechkin's on all the power plays.
Oh,
Ovechkin
right.
stays
Yeah.
out for the whole 2 minutes.
Oh, right. Of course. So I mean, so what do you? So exactly, like where exactly is Pacioretty going to get his shots? I don't know. And if those shots aren't coming, then I'm still like he's someone I'm definitely watch listing and keeping an eye on. But I would be more excited if he was taking more than like 1.6 shots per game.
Yeah, then he probably wouldn't be on your watch list. He'd either be on your team or someone else's team.
Yeah.
But alas, but still cool to see him producing. I think he's like going to be a solid enough piece in fantasy moving forward. Like I would take it. I mean, next week Washington has a brutal schedule, but after that they have a couple really good weeks for the schedule. So then I would definitely jump on Pacioretty then.
You know where Washington is brutal is in net. Do you, like Lindgren got wrecked, and then got to keep playing. I don't know if you know, but like I dropped him after he lost. He gave up 8 goals on 31 shots, and I was like, okay, that's it. And like Kemper did like okay the game before in a back-to-back. Kemper won, and then Lindgren played again against Philly and stopped 21 of 23, picked up the win. But today against Arizona, Lindgren was bad. He stopped 23 of 27.
Yeah, I think this is another pair of goalies where they'll probably both be in free agency for you, and you could stream them in for a game, but no reason to hold either. Because, yeah, maybe Lindgren is getting a lot of games. I mean, maybe you hold Lindgren depending if you need volume, but yeah, obviously not a sure thing. Who would you take, Brian? Lindgren or Cam Talbot if both are in free agency right now? Or Riddick or Kemper, I guess. I don't know. Any
easy. Cam Talbot. Why wouldn't I? Who wouldn't?
No, I guess you're right. I don't know. Talbot's available in my free agency right now. A cupful.
Yeah. Well, like so that's it. Like Talbot is like good enough to be like, oh, and then like someone has to be the patsy, right? The patsy or the champ to jump on him just a little bit early. He's started 3 in a row now, and he's won 4 of his last 5. So it seems like it's Talbot season again to me.
Yeah, seems like it to me too. All right, let's continue down the this list here. Oh wait, sorry. Let me edit point. One last quick thing about Washington. I guess the big news was that Kuznetsov got put on waivers and he cleared. So he came back, like he's cleared from the player assistance program. Then now is, I guess, going to the AHL. I mean, unless he doesn't choose not. I assume he'll go. He has a big contract. He's not going to want to get killed. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see Kuznetsov going to the minors. Hopefully, he'll just get going and they'll bring him up soon. But yeah, it's been a wild turn of events for a guy who was one of my MVPs the year I won the cupful. Feels like a million years ago now. Nothing. Okay, so I'll just keep going.
Yeah. Well,
you don't have to talk about Kuznetsov.
Okay, no, I'll just say. Yeah, well, let's see. I mean, we'll see what he's up to now. Like, if this can be a bit of a renaissance moment, and like when no one claimed no one would claim Kuznetsov without Washington doing them a favor, but. Also, I think we've seen this before where maybe it's just like, okay, like let's let the player try and come back to the game and do what they need to do. And then I guess maybe the test will be, I think Kuznetsov is going to won't have to clear. Is that crazy? Does Kuznetsov have to clear on the way up?
No. Why would someone have to clear on the way up?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, just forget my whole part. You just go ahead.
So just nothing about it.
No, I just delete my part.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm continuing scrolling down game day tweets. I'm seeing a tweet from Ben Pope about the Blackhawks. They're targeting a Saturday at Washington for Athanasiou's return. That's a whole who cares? But I guess at the start of the year, I remember Athanasiou was looking interesting. Now everyone on Chicago, man, it's like Donato was on the top line in the last game and in line combos today. Chicago plays Monday, Tuesday. You would think, okay, good, maybe I could target a Chicago player to start the week. I guess if at the start of the season we were losing our minds for a Ryan Donato, and Bedard is back. Bedard's a little cold. Like, I don't know. Even like, I don't know. I'm not saying he's gonna not be worth holding or anything, but it's not as exciting to go after those. And even like when he first came back from injury, I was like excited about Foligno and Kurashev, but yeah, only at 2 assists in the last 5 games for Bedard. And yeah, maybe I'm still a little bit interested in Kurashev. Like, it seems like at least he sticks with Bedard no matter what. Ryan Donato, Athanasiou, I don't know. And also even a bigger bummer after, remember all season we've been kind of been having fun. Like, Petr Mrazek's actually been like a pretty solid guy to stream in every once in a while whenever he plays. Like, he's not gonna get the win, but he's like losing his luster. He's been pretty bad lately. So Chicago, they stink. I saw a tweet from Mark Lazarus that was like, if they win every single game for the rest of the season, they'll still be like 20 points out of the playoffs. So it's not, I guess it's as expected.
Yeah, like that's not a surprise. That seems like a strange pile on. Like, what did we think they were closer? I don't think so. But Mrazek,
Right.
like that's been the biggest bummer. Just because there hasn't really been anybody. You've had Bedard for sure be consistently rosterable, and even he's struggling lately. 2 assists in his last 5 games, and every other game he's had just a single shot on goal, which hasn't been great. But Mrazek has just one quality start in his last 7, and of course that one quality start is his only win. He's an 896 in this stretch, so I have Mrazek. I'm going to keep him for, I think there's a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back for Chicago this week. I'll give him one more start, see how it goes, to see if the pendulum can swing back to good Mrazek again. But if not, I will cut him loose.
Yeah, too bad. It's like a few of these goalies that were doing so well for a while. Like Alex Lyon has been, struggling a little bit lately. I guess there's a reason why these are like goalies that you got out of free agency. Like, they're not just going to be amazing forever. We saw with Cam Talbot also. It's goalies. What are you going to do? Okay, let's continue down here. Here's a tweet from Vince Mercogliano, Rangers beat writer. He's always good. On the Kreider-Zibanejad line, Lavi said, "There's a want to do more, but added, I'm confident they'll find their way, and I believe we have the right people together." And then the question was asked, would he consider splitting them up? Not at this point, but everything's always subject to change. So yeah, obviously this is referring to the fact that Mika Zibanejad is super cold. Like, you don't see this too often. There was that strange season. Remember, like, there was that season, Brian, where, like, Zibanejad was, like, bad for, like, the first, like, I don't know, was it half the season, maybe even a little longer, and like, with kind of no explanation. Maybe he was coming back from an injury. I don't know. Anyways, lately, pointless in 4 games for Zibanejad, who before that was just, clicking along as per usual. But, yeah, in these last 4 games, I'm seeing 3 of them only 1 shot. Pointless. We could look at Chris Kreider, who is also not doing what he had been doing for a lot of the season. I'm seeing that Kreider had himself a goal and an assist versus Columbus, but one of them was on the power play. And aside from that, those were only his points in his last 4 games as well. So this line has gone cold. The coach says he's not too worried. Are you worried at all, or is this a whole pile of nothing in terms of fantasy and planning for the future?
Well, the thing with Kreider is he's still on a 75-point pace this season, which would be like good for him. Like, that's fine. We'd be happy with that, especially after last season's 56-point pace. Like, 75-point pace is as good as it gets for Kreider. I don't even know why I'm saying, like, oh, yeah, that's good. That's fine. That's great for Chris Kreider. But Mika Zibanejad is on a 74-point pace, which is not great for Mika Zibanejad. And Zibanejad also generally a big shooter, just 6 shots in his last 4 games. And on the whole season, he's seen a drop in his shot and expected goals rates. And also that line has been struggling. There has been a pretty noticeable drop in their on-ice expected goals for. There's been a little bit of poor variance working against Zibanejad as well, but I think, I don't know how much better Zibanejad deserves, and like these signs of decline, like he's too young. Like, I'm not saying like decline, like age trajectory. Like, it's just is taking a step back or a small step back this season, and that's not great. What more can I say other than it's been a disappointing season so far for Zibanejad, and I don't know that it's going to turn around at this point. And for Kreider's case, at least he's still performing really at the high water mark of his career numbers and has 13 shots in his last 3 games versus Zibanejad 6 in his last 4.
Yeah, and Capo Caco has been the third on that line, by the way, for the last little while. Pointless in 5. So obviously he's definitely not. Well, I guess with those other 2 being cold, it's like that's the reason why we're not so excited about Capo Caco. But I think we're at the point now where we're not really ever excited about the third on that line. They're gonna have to do something for a while for us to get excited. But yeah, that's the Rangers. Though I guess there is one more player we have to talk about because we haven't mentioned his name yet on the podcast. He's like the talk of the NHL for good or bad reasons. You tell me, Brian. But Matt Rempe what the heck? Like, if you're in a league that counts PIMS, he fights every single game. He just fought, what's his name? That Leafs guy. Who's that fighter on the Leafs?
Ryan
Has a
Reeves.
terrible contract. Yeah, yeah. He just fought Ryan Reeves in the game on Saturday. Like Rempe also, like if your league doesn't even count PIMS but counts hits, like he's really good for hits, especially if you consider his time on ice. Like he only played 5 minutes and 56 seconds last game and had 3 hits. He also like injured the new guy Toronto just acquired, Lyubushkin.
Yeah.
That was like I saw the replay. I people are like, oh, it's a hockey player, like it's just a body check. Like, but it's like fine, but also, I don't know, it looked pretty aggressive to me. It was like skating from pretty far away, seemed to speed up to full speed, and then like jumped up and like smashed the guy. Anyways, whatever. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to say if you're in a league that counts PIMS, you probably know about this guy because he's like becoming the sure thing PIMS superstar of all time in his short career so far.
Yeah, definitely a very high PIMS per 60 ratio. And like Rempe's here to do like literally one thing, and that's it. It's hit and injure and fight. And I mean, we can have our arguments about whether this makes the league better or worse. But he's never been productive anywhere in his like junior or professional career, except in the PIMS column. So if you are in a PIMS league, and hits, yeah. So if you are in a PIMS league, go for it. But if not, then there's no.
Sure.
You're not even asking for fantasy advice here. Like I got myself off partway through that. I mean, like it's a wonder, honestly, given this guy's. I don't know why some guys get drafted. He was drafted in the 6th round.
I mean,
in 2020,
to be an enforcer. Why did Ryan Reeves get this contract with the Leafs that he got?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if anybody like who's played significant games in the NHL was drafted after him. Oh, Devin Levi.
Oh,
look at that.
Nice
212th overall. So we'll see if the Rangers are happy to have Rempe over Devin Levi.
Well, I don't know if you can. Okay. The thing with Rempe also is that he hits a lot, but also it's possible that he'll like have a fight and they get kicked out of the game like a minute into the game. So you're not guaranteed a lot of hits because it's not guaranteed that he's gonna get enough. Like he has a couple 0-hit games, and if you look at him, one of them is he played 13 seconds, and the other one he played like 5 minutes. That's actually what happened there against Columbus. 5 full minutes.
I think the betting, like the over under, is like what's going to be higher, his time on ice or his time in the box.
Yeah, or his hits actually, minutes on ice or hits. Anyway, okay, we've talked about him enough. Let's continue scrolling down here. We've got Max Miller tweets about Blackwood and Curtis Pashelka talking about Kotkaniemi. We already talked about San Jose Coyotes. So, yeah, we got the line combos tweet from the Coyotes who had themselves a nice game today. And this is going into a week with another good schedule. They're going to play Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday, Sunday. So 2 off-day games. And, yeah, there's a couple guys now that are all of a sudden interesting that weren't for a while. Matias Maccelli, Brian, got another assist today to extend his point streak. What is that now? 6-game point streak for Matias Maccelli, who went we were into him for a long stretch of the season. Then he went super cold. But yeah, no, 8 points in his last 6 games. Yeah, definitely. I think, especially with a good schedule next week. I mean, I don't know. I'm into Maccelli. Like, I mean, there was a really good conversation that Lewis and Derek had on the last short shifts about how if you always just jump on people, like at the, once the hot streak has, been going for a while, and then drop them as soon as they're cold, you're kind of always getting like the worst of the player, and you're never getting the good part. But at the same time, like I just know that like the vibe on Twitter is Maccelli's like a really good player, and I guess maybe whatever the people he was passing to were going cold, or I don't know. But I think he is like a good player, and he has been getting top power play, so that is a bit of a difference than previously. So I think that would be reason enough for me to jump on Maccelli going into a good schedule week. And also Nick Schmaltz, by the way, who was cold for a little bit. I think Brian and I we were both like, don't worry, like I would still hold on, but we were getting like I don't know. Some questions at the very least. But Schmaltz, yeah, with Keller out of the lineup, I guess I didn't mention that, but Keller's been out for the last 4 games or so. Schmaltz, 2 straight multi-point games now. Definitely he would be my like number 1 guy to grab if he's in free agency ahead of Maccelli. But yeah, if you can't get Schmaltz, then I'm into Maccelli right now.
Yeah, me too. I mean, when we liked Michelli earlier in the season, it was because he was shooting a little more than he had been, and then he went back to not shooting. But now, guess what? Michelli's shooting again. 14 shots in his last 6 games. And yes, for Michelli, that qualifies as shooting. 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points in this 6-game point streak. And Nick Schmaltz, 3 multi-point games in his last 6. 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points in 5 games. Those 4 goals have come on 16 shots, so he's not all the way back. But I mean, it's it's fine. Like Nick Schmaltz can get some puck luck, and it would be great. I'm surprised that it's coming with Keller out of the lineup. But hey, I'm not beggars can't be choosers, and all I can hope is he's warming up to have some perfect synergy with Keller when he does come back.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to see. Arizona. Also, by the way, Vejmelka got the win today. That always seems to ping pong a little bit. Usually Ingram gets more wins than Vejmelka, but usually one's hot, one's cold. And right now, I guess Vejmelka's going. So we'll see how many games each of them play. Like I know on that last short shifts, or no, maybe it was in Matchup Maximizer. Jeremy was saying that Ingram would be a good guy to grab. I don't know anymore. If Vejmelka gets the Tuesday game, maybe it's just 2-2. In terms of next week, so we'll have to see. It's very hard to predict the goaltending over in Arizona, but I have Vejmelka in my Dynasty League where I'm heading into the semifinals starting tomorrow, so I'm happy to see him getting going again. Brian, with that, we've been chatting for an hour. I think it's a good time to take a little break. We'll end part 1 here. When we come back, we'll continue scrolling through. We're still on tweets from just today. It's been a busy day of news on a Sunday. We'll see how far we get before we've covered every single team. Probably we'll get through all the teams once we get through yesterday's tweets. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the second half. We still have a lot of big news to talk about, including, by the way, I guess one of the biggest pieces of news. I'll just want to mention this on this episode before we move on. We'll talk about it on the next one. But Valery Nichushkin is out of the player assistance program. He could be back. Maybe tomorrow. I hope tomorrow. Anyone who has him is hoping tomorrow. So that'll be obviously really huge because he was such a dominant force before he left the Avs. So we'll get to that and a lot more in part 2. So please make sure to be subscribed to Keeping Karlsson so that you have that episode ready to go. It should already be in your feed. Okay, so just go load up part 2 and enjoy yourself as Brian and I continue to go through the league. So we'll be back soon. See ya. All right, did you come up with your...
No.
What you're going to do here?
Just going to see what I feel like saying.
Okay. I'm not going to... Whatever you do, I'm good with it, just so you know. I have no thoughts to share.
Oh, dear God. Here we are back for the second.
Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Why? Sorry. So
what were you going to say?
No, just like... What am I doing with my life? That's the vibe.
How many hours do you think we've podcasted? A lot.
Oh, yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm having a good time. I don't know.
Me too. I hope I don't want to give anyone the impression that I'm not.
Yeah. No, we've podcasted
thousands.
It's hard not to swear. Like a lot.
A truckload. Yeah.
We've definitely spent a lot of our lives chatting to each other about hockey. And so that's just what we've decided to do. Let's do it for another hour and then we'll reassess.
I'm happy. I don't want to, again, this is, I'm so
I think part 2 I'm going taking off the hood. I just want it to be cool like you, but it's not me.
I'm not even trying to be cool. It's genuinely cold down here. Okay. I have a blanket on my legs. The door. Yeah, I don't need to explain why. But
by the way, this looks like a schlumpy hoodie, but FYI, this is from The Gap, just so people know. I'm actually wearing a very fashionable shirt here, just so you know.
That was like 40% off, $55.
It was really, yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely on sale by a lot.
Yeah, that's every Gap.
Still
purchase.
Counts.
So Matthew loves the energy tonight. Thank you.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. All right. Welcome back for the second part of this week's Keeping Karlsson Mega Show. My name is Brian Com, and I am here with my co-host, Elon Dabrowski. Elon, we're 1 hour in. We got another hour to go. How you feeling?
Feeling great, Brian. This has been so much fun. I like how we're not even keeping count anymore. I don't even know how many teams we've covered. I don't know if we're ahead of schedule, behind schedule. All I know is I'm vibing here with you, talking about all the latest news from the past week. So much happens. I feel like if I were to tell like people about what we're doing here, they'd be like, "How do you come up with something new to say?" Like it's like been a couple games. What's the But I don't know. Every team, I feel like we have something brand new to talk about every single week. So it's fun. Fantasy's a fun game. It's very I don't know. What's a good word? Brian, you're good with words. You play Scrabble. What's a word for like a lot is happening all the time? Volatile? But what's like a positive way to say volatile? Like in a fun way.
Yeah.
We'll think about it.
High
Tweet
event.
at us. High event, yeah. I say tweeted us, but I don't actually care. Don't tweet at us.
Tweeted us at Keeping Karlsson with the best Scrabble bingo you could play, to the highest scoring Scrabble word you can play to describe a busy in a good way. Fervent?
Yeah. Sure, that would have been good.
That's 7 letters.
I would have sounded smart.
And there's an
but
F
alas.
and a B.
Yeah.
By the way, we left Arizona. I just want to mention, if you're looking for a streamer, they have a Friday, Sunday, like at the end of next week, like they did this week. Forget Barrett Hayton. I'm sure everybody else has, but now I have too. So now it's like really official. He sucks even with a good schedule. So goodbye to Barrett Hayton. But Dylan Genther.
Gunther.
What did I do?
You said Ganther, and people got
It's
mad at us last week when we said
Gunther.
Ganther.
It's one of those things where I've heard, like you try and correct to the right one, but you forget which one the wrong one is. Gunther.
Yeah, what about him?
Okay. And Dylan Gunther has 5 points in 2 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 7 shots, 3 power play points. He looks good for Friday, Sunday this week if you can grab him late in the matchup, if he'd be of help to you.
Yeah, sold. I like him a lot. Taken in my couple div. Last time I checked. All right, so there was another Rangers tweet from earlier in the day. I know we were talking about the Rangers, but Jonathan Quick got an extension, 1 year, 1.275 mil. Apparently, he's 3 wins away from tying Ryan Miller for the most career wins by an American-born NHL goalie. So with a full other season available to him, he's clearly going to break that record unless he gets injured. So congrats, Jonathan Quick. Amazing career that's continuing. And I did not we talked about this before. I did not see this coming this season. He's been a really solid stream in fantasy whenever he plays. So that's not something I thought I'd say anymore in my time, doing this podcast. But anyways, Brian, continuing to scroll down here, let's get to the Nashville Predators. We have a tweet from Alex Daughtery. UC Saros, since the 9-2 home loss to Dallas, he took that personally, and now he's incredible. He's 6-0-0, 167 saves on 175 shots for a 954 save percentage. So UC Saros really, getting himself back in the conversation as one of the top goalies. If there was any doubt or any concern, he's incredible. Another person, by the way, on Nashville who's incredible, who I feel like I've talked about so much that there's nothing new to say, but I continue to love Gustav Nyquist, who I was loving when I grabbed him in one league, and then at some point he got dropped in my couple division, so now he's on my couple team too. He's just a mainstay on that top line. He's hot again, 8 points in his last 5 games. That even includes going pointless somehow yesterday, even though Nashville won 5-1 against Colorado. It was a 5-1 win, and somehow Nyquist was pointless and -1. So I guess he wasn't on the ice for any of the even strength goals and was on the ice for that one goal against. Nevertheless, he's great. If he's somehow still available to you, what are you waiting for? 4 games next week for Nashville? I can't just keep talking about Gustav Nyquist, but I still see his percent rostered like pretty low, too low.
Yeah, and it's too low even though he's just been on another run. 8 points in his last 5 games, including 3 on the power play. Nyquist is on a 67-point pace, and it looks for real. Would help him if that power play continued to be working, though. Like that's going to be key, but it has been, so that's great. It's been a surprising season for Gustav Nyquist. Way to go.
Yeah. Also, we got to talk about Roman Josi here. He's on an incredible run. Again, 9 points now in his last 5 games. He's had a really good second half. Is it like, I always think about this in terms of like going into next year's fantasy drafts. Is it like now is Josi right up there again? I remember at one point earlier this year, it looked like Quinn Hughes has like usurped everyone to be like maybe the number 2 fantasy D-man after Cale Makar. Yosi's still there. Like it's pretty good. He's like 33 years old. I remember I saw someone on our Twitter, on our Discord, someone was talking about how they were in like a dynasty league or a keeper league, and they wanted to trade away Josi to get younger. But to me, it's sometimes like if he's so incredible at 33, like he's not just gonna like hit a wall, right? Like I don't know. It just seems like he must be like a Crosby type, where he's playing his best hockey ever at this age. I'd imagine he's still got like 2, 3 good years in him at least, if not more. It's just he's like one of the most reliable guys you could have on your team. Like so many shots to go along with all these reliable points. The blocks haven't been coming as often as they used to back in the day, but still, Roman Josi incredible. But again, what is there for you to even say aside from just be like, yeah, he's good?
He's amazing. I'm so glad I have him on my team, and I'm so sad that I'm wasting the incredible season he's put together for me. Yeah, it's gold when you can get a performance like this from a D spot. So I've enjoyed it a lot, and maybe it will compel me to try and I'm thinking, even though my team hasn't succeeded as much as I hoped, I don't think it's because I drafted Roman Josi early, and put him in the D spot. So I might go ahead and do it again.
Yeah. And by the way, Cody Glass, congrats. He had a hat trick in his last game on Saturday in that 5-1 win. 6 shots. Anything there, Brian? You at all interested in former early first round pick Cody Glass, 6 overall 2017? Had a pretty quiet year, but had an assist in the game before. Now a hat trick. 4 games next week for Nashville. Is he on your watch list or not even?
Not even, if I'm being honest. It depends on my deep cut watch list, sure, but someone I have ahead of him who's available in most of all my leagues, I think, is Tommy Novak, and I'd take him first. He has 13 points in 13 games, 4 of them on the power play. And I don't know if you remember, maybe it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, I kind of disregarded the early seeds of a run. I was like, this could be the start of something, but I'm not jumping on yet because the run became a run because he scored 3 times on 5 shots, and Novak is still barely shooting. He has just 5 shots in his last 5 games, including 2 games where he's had no shots, but it's good to see him making up for it with assists. And the last few games, Novak has seen a greater than 50% share of Nashville's power play time. So we'll see if that lasts, and that makes him a little more attractive, even still without the shots.
Okay, yeah. No, Novak is good. I'll take him over Glass as well. Glass did get some top power play time in the last game I saw, so maybe that was to help him try to get the hat trick. So we'll see what happens for the next game. Let's continue scrolling. We're into tweets from last night now. Over on Boston, Scott McLaughlin tweeted that Montgomery, after the Bruins game, didn't have an update on Zacha. He said, don't have any firm update on whether it's day-to-day or week-to-week. So, yeah, I guess obviously, yeah, Pavel Zacha got hurt in that game. And like I just said, we still don't know the extent to it. He's someone who hasn't, been so reliably, consistent for his run in Boston, but he's been in a really good spot. So that does open up some potential opportunities. The line, if you look at last game lines on Frozen Pool for Boston, they just had a whole bunch of different things going. Got to imagine if Zacha's out, the one thing we know for sure is Charlie Coyle is going to have an even more good chance of sticking on a line with Marchand or Pasternak, probably top power play. So if Charlie Coyle is still out there for you, this just makes him, I think, more interesting if Zacha's hurt. But aside from that, I don't know if there's really any other takeaway. We'll have to see what the next lines are. I wonder also, does a Zacha injury in any way make you willing to hold on to Jake DeBrusk a little longer? He's pointless in his last 5 games, just doing absolutely nothing, taking some shots, I guess. Did get some power play time with the big boys yesterday, maybe just after the injury. So I don't know, Brian. Is there any reason to hold Jake DeBrusk? Is that enough, a Zacha injury, to just hold for one more game?
I don't think so. Sure, one more game because the Bruins play early this week, so you can for sure wait and see. But I mean, there's nothing telling me that DeBrusk is going to be amazing, and he hasn't been all season. I know there's been a few runs of relevance where you're like, maybe this is it, and then it hasn't been very quickly. DeBrusk in his last 5 games, pointless, 12 shots. That's okay. It's not awful, but it's also not good. It's still hard to find that Boston forward really worth rostering aside from Pasternak and Marchand. Coyle, Elon, you mentioned, and that's fair. But again, he takes a shot a game, and you're hoping for an assist from him to go with that shot, and that assist may or may not come. So it's not a whole lot of fancy value to be found through the Boston lineup, and I'm not going to force it with DeBrusk myself.
Yeah. Also on Boston, after this rough loss yesterday to the Islanders, they lost 5-1. like this is maybe the first time we've seen in a long, long time that Linus Ullmark is ice cold. He's been really bad lately. I'm seeing here his last 5 games, he's let in 5 goals. Like this guy is just not bringing it lately for the Bruins, which is really surprising. He's been so reliable for so long. I guess and this is a team where in general, like normally our advice is you don't want to have a tandem goaltender, right? You only get half the games if you're in a points league. Anyways, if you're in a categories league, it's a whole different thing. Not like he's helping you in a points league lately, or sorry, in a categories league. But yeah, Allmark, like, would you get to a point if you're in a must-win week right now in the cupful? He might only play once, in a week. If Swayman gets the next game, which he probably will, if it's a 3-game week, you imagine go Swayman, Allmark, Swayman. Could you consider dropping Allmark, or is this for sure like you'll drop him and then he's going to go hot again for sure?
Well, it depends on your format, right? If you're looking for rates, I would hold Allmark and just like wait and hope things will be okay. If you're looking for volume, well, what are you doing? Still holding Linus Ullmark. Swayman's also not been great lately. So both Boston goalies struggling, and Elon, we've seen them be really good, and we've seen them struggle less, I think, than they've been good. So I'm gonna hold faith that both Ullmark and Swayman can find their games, and it's just sort of a frustrating stretch. But with low volume and low rates, they're really not helping you a whole lot. But this year, I've got to give it up to both Ullmark and Swayman on the whole. Like the last couple games or few games for each of them hasn't gone well, but they're both playing incredible. Swayman's like 15 save points above expected Fenwick. Ullmark is about 9 save points above expected Fenwick at 5-on-5. Swayman has a 935 5-on-5 save percentage, which is fantastic. Ullmark's at 925, which is still very good. So all of that to say, I'd hold. In a rates league, I'd hold. In not rates league, I would have dropped long ago. You're muted.
Wow, Brian, this is like a bold statement you're saying, by the way. Like, you're calling out a lot of cupful managers. Allmark is rostered 98% of cupful divisions, and you're being like, I would have dropped him long ago. Like, if you're holding him, what are you doing? Like, that's pretty much every single cupful division. You're saying there's one dummy in there who isn't playing properly.
Well, hey, I'm not calling anyone a dummy who's not playing properly. It's not to my taste, and you're right. Like, and you know what, Elon? Last year I would have started by saying the same thing, and I would have been like completely wrong, right? Like Ullmark was a great hold all season, and I'm actually just looking to see like the top goalies in Cupful this season. So Swayman's like 15th or so in total points, just ahead of Mrazek and Ingram, and Ullmark is like 22nd.
Well,
I don't know that you have
way.
to hold the 15th, and I don't think that's great.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I don't disagree. Especially if it's a must-win week, and since they alternate, like that Ullmark might only get one game, he would be a tough hold right now for sure. So I agree with you there. I wonder if that number is going to start going. I'll bet you that number was 100% before this rough run recently. But okay, let's continue scrolling down some tweets here. Sheldon Keefe says Lyubushkin has a head injury on the hit from Matt Rempe. I guess we talked about this when we were talking about the Rangers. But yeah, the Leafs obviously weren't happy about that because they just acquired the guy. But hey, they won the game, so that's something. The other big news out of Toronto is that Joseph Woll is back. So let's take a look at how he's done. He had, that long absence, and he went to the AHL for a little bit, and now he's had himself one game against Arizona, and he was good. Only let in 2 goals on 32 shots. So I think he's definitely someone that I would be excited about. Samsonov hasn't been terrible, but I think we talked about it last week, and it seems like, we see a good game back. So, Woll is, not having anything lingering, hopefully. Go get him if he's out there. He's probably the starter.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I would drop Ullmark or Swayman for Woll in a heartbeat. And I think Woll in Toronto, is going to... The thing is, I think the Leafs are going to want to rely on him in the playoffs, right? So, and he's just coming back from injury. So I think they're in this part where there's like 20 games left in the season. The Leafs are pretty entrenched at 3rd seed in the Atlantic. They could still put up a fight with Boston for home ice, and they should still obviously watch their backs for Detroit and Tampa. But Woll is the Leafs are in a place where they want Woll to probably get a good run of starts to find his game and get warm and comfortable. So he's all cylinders firing come the playoffs, but also they don't want him to get injured again or tired. So I'm interested to see how the Leafs deploy him. I imagine we'll get at least 2 out of every 3 starts because winning games still matters for the Leafs, even if it's likely that they're going to play Boston in the first round. They'll want home ice, and to get home ice, they're going to need good goalies, and their only good goalie, reliably, has been Joseph Woll.
Mm-hmm. Also, these lines on Toronto. I feel like we've talked about this before, but they keep changing and they keep getting weirder to me. Like, so lately, it's been Matthews, Marner, and Nyes, and then Domi and Bertuzzi are together with Nylander on, like, is that the second line or the third line? I don't even know what you say. And then Tavares is with Kalle Yarncroc, who's back, and Bobby McMahon. That was the last game. Yarncroc took over for Robertson. So I don't know. Like, I guess, like, to me, it's kind of like Toronto goes into next week playing Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you could definitely fit in a Monday, Thursday guy. Bertuzzi's been on the top power play, by the way, with Nylander, Marner, and Matthews. And then Tavares has been on the second power play. So Bertuzzi, I think, if you haven't noticed, like, he's getting really great deployment, and you definitely want Bertuzzi on PP1. But yeah, maybe you stream in like a Domi if he's playing with Nylander. Maybe you take a look at a Yarncroc or McMahon with John Tavares, or maybe you're just like they talked about on short shifts. Maybe you're just super frustrated with John Tavares, and you're like, holy cow, why did I just draft this guy who's line 3 power play 2? We'll see how long it lasts. He did score and had 7 shots in that game against the Rangers. Before that, it was a really bad cold streak. Well, 3 games, but hardly any shots in those 3 games. But this could all change, right? In any moment. So it's just very weird to see this happening. I'd be shocked if, like, these are the lines the Leafs go with and power plays they go with into the playoffs.
Yeah, it could. I see, like, I think there's some lessons trying to be taught or learned right now. Like, Nylander's minutes have been a little strange lately, and I think there was a benching at some point. So I think all of this is part of the equation, but it does make a lot of guys less reliable. Though Tavares, like, I don't really care that much where he plays. The power play would be great, like, obviously better, but at even strength, I think he can probably do still enough damage from where he is. And I'll also just shout out Matthew Nyes for continuing to, like, I wonder if he's almost becoming like maybe the new Michael Bunting. They're different game, different style, and certainly not, like, the consistency isn't there, but it seems like it could start to come. And I'm interested to see how Nyes continues to do this week, because another couple good games would mean that I think he's a hold for the next while. Right now, I think he's still probably a stream, but he is on the cusp of being a hold.
Yeah, and at the very least, get Nyes for Monday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday if you can fit him, and then you could always reassess there. I mean, it's a pretty good spot to be in with Matthews and Marner, of course. Okay, Brian, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll look at the Penguins lines from yesterday. This is a very decimated team at the moment. Too bad. Anyways, we'll get to them soon. You're just going to keep Karlsson. We are back, Brian. And actually, that wasn't even fair when I said they're not so decimated, but they are down Brian Rust. And I don't know, they just don't look like a deep team, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Their lines for yesterday versus Calgary were Crosby with Raquel and Drew O'Connor, and then Malkin with Riley Smith and Puustinen. And also they, like I think I mentioned earlier in the show, the Penguins have been running odd power plays as well. So Crosby, Raquel, Valtteri Puustinen, and Lars Eller on the top power play with Erik Karlsson. And then Malkin, Riley Smith, Bemstrom, Jeff Carter, and Letang. It's not even like split power plays. So you look at the time, it's like, I think it's just power play 1 and power play 2. So, like, Malkin is getting a bit of the Tavares treatment, being on the second power play where you're like, wouldn't expect something like that. But hey, at the end of the day, I think that the one guy that's worth a mention going into a 4-game week to me, Valtteri Puustinen on top power play has points in 5 of his last 6 games, just 1 point each of those games. But, like, he's taking a few shots. I think this is a name you should know. He's on, the line with Malkin. He's on the top power play. He's getting points. What else do you need to get a mention on keeping Karlsson, right? So, Brian, what do you think? Is he on your watch list? Cody Glass level or higher?
Higher. Yeah, I like what Puustinen is doing, and I like his spot in the lineup. He's playing with Crosby on the power play. He's playing with Malkin at 5-on-5, and he is pointing. He has points in 5 of his last 6 games. He takes a couple shots a game. It seems like he has the potential to take more. Minutes have been trending up from the 10 to 12 minutes. Well, actually, from less than 10. Pustinen's been like seeing Matt Rempe minutes for a bunch of January, and seems to have worked on his game and is now seeing like second line, like 15 to 17 minutes a night. So yeah, Pustinen is certainly on my radar. I think I have him probably around where I have Matthew Nyes right now, as somebody with a lot of great 5-on-5 opportunities, but also Pustinen has the added benefit of power play.
Yeah, definitely. Pittsburgh, by the way, Shams is reminding me, are actually playing right now against the Oilers. So before you take all this advice, you have one more game of data if you're listening to this on Monday to see how things all shook out for the Penguins and Valtteri Pustinen and company. Okay, also there was a tweet about how Rickard Rakell took a bunch of penalties. We'll see. He committed 6 minor penalties in his last 8 games. I wonder if that's something he's going to work on or if the Penguins are going to do anything. Also, a guy named Jonathan Gruden scored his first NHL goal. So those are your latest Penguins retweets. Except for, I guess there's also some new tweet that just came out. But Brian, I'm not going to go back up. I'm already on Saturday. I'm not going to go back. But yeah, with the latest lines, but they were the same as the ones from yesterday. Okay, so we have a tweet here from Danny Webster, a stats tweet from after the last Vegas game where, like I said, they lost 7-2 to Buffalo. Logan Thompson has been on the ledger for 13 goals allowed in his last 3 appearances. Man, there was a point last year where Logan Thompson was looking like he was going to emerge as like the star goalie on this team, a really good up-and-coming prospect. I'll bet you could have gotten a lot from him in a dynasty league. Lately, not so good for Logan Thompson. And yeah, I guess he's becoming a bit of a tough stream. He's like still rostered in my couple division. I guess if you're saying that people are like snoozing by holding Ullmark, I'd imagine you'll say the same thing about Logan Thompson.
Yes, I will.
Okay. And I guess the other big news out of Vegas is Eichel's going to be back soon, and they need him. That was a rough loss there. Really the main bright spot on the team lately, aside from Marchessault, who's been talked about a lot on short shifts and on our show, Shea Theodore, since coming back from injury, an assist machine. He's good at dishing the puck. Imagine when Eichel's back. Maybe they'll do some fun stuff together. But yeah, Vegas without Eichel and Mark Stone is a different team for sure.
Yeah, it would be great to see Eichel back because now, I don't think we should expect Stone. Although we should mention there has been some Vegas production lately from Michael Amadio. He's had a little bit of a run lately. Yeah, actually, well, he and Chandler Stevenson and Barbashev were on a line together in the last game, although I don't think they produced anything. But Amadio had pointed in 5 of 6 going into last night's game on Saturday and actually had 6 shots on goal against Boston 2 games ago. Chandler Stevenson also had a couple multi-point outings recently. I'm not sure that any of this can last, but some bright spots on Vegas. Speaking of a bright spot on Vegas, it's like a blinding spot on Vegas is Shea Theodore. 27 points in 26 games. 9 assists in his last 6 games. 2 power play points. Some big block games in there too. And Theodore is doing this because he has basically almost a power play point every other game. He's got 12 power play points in 26 games. He has participated on 92% of the power play goals that have been scored while he's on the ice, which is not what we'd normally expect, but still got to shout him out for the production he is putting up after spending a good chunk of the season on the shelf.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, yeah, Theodore's dishing those apples lately. Okay, so continuing down with the tweets here, Wayne Fish. I don't recognize this name. Who is Wayne Fish? But he's Philadelphia. There's a lot of Philadelphia beat writers. Looks like he's editor of the FlyingFishHockey.com. Okay, well, anyways, Shams knows where to find good people to read. Anyways, there's a good stat here. Forrester had a couple goals in Philly's last game on Saturday. Forrester's 16th goal puts him 1 off of NHL rookie lead. Connor Bedard and Minnesota's Marco Rossi tied for first with 17. But yeah, another big game for Tyson Forrester, who we mentioned last week as someone to keep an eye on. He had himself a nice week, right? He's now had 2 goals in this game versus Ottawa, along with 7 shots in the 4-2 win. He also had nothing in the previous game versus Washington, but before that a goal, then a game with 2 goals, then a game with 1 goal. So Forrester's scoring 1 or 2 goals in every single game since coming back from his injury, getting top power play, getting big minutes. To me, he seems like a must add. Like he seems like someone that should not be free agent anywhere.
Great call by you, Elon. And I was getting cute with Forrester. I'm like, he'll fit in perfectly in my lineup if I just wait this long. And then I actually did wait that long, and then was delayed by a few hours and someone else scooped Forster. But he's been fantastic. 6 goals on 16 shots, 1 power play goal only. So we can't expect the goals to keep coming this way. But those 7 shots you mentioned against Ottawa are definitely promising.
Yeah, and of course with Forrester hot, with Philly, there always needs to be someone on the downswing. And right now it's Sean Couturier, who is in the doghouse, been playing on the 4th line. He's cold. Just dropped Brian in my couple division. I remember you were like excited at the start of the season that you had Couturier and Atkinson. I know you've obviously since dropped Atkinson.
Right.
But is Couturier still on the team?
No, Couturier is gone. I dropped him today because he was on the 4th line and the 2nd power play. And like I've been sort of listen, he's been close enough to being dropped, and I think it just speaks more to the lack of other like the glut of droppable players that I had in my lineup. But what looks to me like got to John Tortorella is Couturier's been a minus player in 9 of his last 10. And in the meantime, like he was still having a good enough game like every 3 or 4 where it's like, oh, okay. Like I guess he's back. Like he took a little break, but now Couturier is back. And gosh, yeah, he doesn't look like he's being given a chance to come back in the meantime. And also on the season, just a 49-point pace, only 7 power play points, despite being on the top power play unit or seeing a greater than 50% share of the power play time, because Philly's been a little funny with their power play units over the course of the season. But still, I would have expected more from him. And it was certainly time at this point to cut him loose. Like I think he was actually really great value coming out of the draft up until I'd say like the new year, like up until mid-January maybe, or if you want to be stingier, mid-December. So thanks so long, Sean Couturier. Thanks for all the Wayne fish.
I will just say I do agree with you that it's the right move to drop Couturier. That was really good. But keep an eye on him, right?
Definitely.
Like, Tortorella changes his mind often, and if he's in free agency, if there's a good week, you don't always have to wait for someone to get hot again to add him. Like I'd say you don't have to rush to grab Couturier, but if you get to a point where you can fit, like 2 games in 3 days or like 3 games in 4 days, the kind of thing where it's going to help you to get someone, just grab Couturier because you can get going again.
And you're right. And he could end up back on the top line, top power play, basically any game, right? And once he's there, he could be valuable to you. So yeah, like I dropped him and immediately put him on my watch list.
Yeah. By the way, Shams is pointing out back to when we talked about Minnesota a million years ago. Kaprizov has a hat trick. So he's
of course he does.
He's great. It's against San Jose, but still.
I see 2 points for Boldy in there. I see 1 point for Eriksson Ek. And then I see a schmoll from Freddie, from the second unit, Freddie Gaudreau, from Declan Chisholm and Jonas Brodin. So the schmoll's still happening, but accompanied by some real goals. And by the way, San Jose, Elon, Mikael Granlund, power play goal. Anthony Duclair, unassisted goal. There it is.
Okay, go take a look. Granlund especially. I already said I'm interested in him in fantasy right now. Okay, continuing down from yesterday, another Hattie. It wasn't Cody Glass wasn't the only guy. Kyle Palmieri had a hat trick, and he got that hat trick very quickly for the Islanders. In the first 12 minutes and 19 seconds, he scored his 3rd goal, and then even got assist later in the game. This is a guy who was super cold. I think just on last week's episode we said to drop him, and I didn't think twice about it. And then yesterday I was like, wow. That came out of nowhere. So there you go. He's still he's still split up from Nelson, which makes me think that it's not the kind of thing that's going to continue too much. It's nice that Palmieri's still on the top power play, which is I think what we said in the last episode. But yeah, I think this might be a Cody. Like I prefer Palmieri to Cody Glass, but also I'm not personally going and like rushing to grab him in a cupful now that Palmieri had that one amazing game.
Oh, for sure. I'm actually really frustrated to be talking about Palmieri again. It's like he does 1 game a week that just barely keeps us talking about him. And it almost justifies us talking about him or like having taken a chance on him, but barely. Like I actually don't know if it quite justifies it or not. So yeah, there it is. Palmieri did like a thing again. But I'm not like, he's not someone I'm holding on to waiting for the next big shot or hat trick game. I'll stream him, but that's it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Man, but whoever had him, 18 a couple points yesterday. Wow. Mwah.
Bam.
Beautiful. By the way, speaking of Brook Nelson on the top line, so the line is like Horvat, Nelson, and Barzal just loading up. This is very good for Brock Nelson. Anyone who has Brock Nelson has already like been having he's been giving a typical good Brock Nelson season. But now we're looking at 4 goals in his last 4 games. He also had if you could go back a little further and see, so what would that be? 6 goals in his last 7 games, including also a couple assists. Like the numbers are really good. If you have Brock Nelson, you're hoping this lasts, and he's turning himself from like a 65, 70 point guy to like I'd say closer to 75, 80 point guy for as long as he's there, and of course still on the top power play.
Yeah, for sure. I know better than to bet against Brock Nelson at this point in his career and my podcasting career.
All right, let's keep scrolling here. I guess we next land on the Dallas Stars. There was a tweet about their lines. Of course, Stankoven continues to be fantastic. He was sent down to the minors, but it was just a paper transaction, of course. I think we were just talking about Tyson Forrester. I'm curious to know actually how you feel about Forrester and Stankoven. Let's see if they're both available in free agency, because Stankoven also super young and doing really well. 4 points in his last 4 games. Didn't get a point yesterday versus San Jose, but had goals in 3 straight before then. You talked about it on the last episode how Stankoven was tearing up the AHL. Now he's coming to the NHL. I think I saw a tweet saying he's probably played his last AHL game. So he's going to be there to stay, and I'd imagine he continues to just produce and maybe work his way up the lineup. Like Stankoven's only on the second power play. Like Forrester, I think the big thing for him, he's on top power play. But I guess we'll see how long they can hold Logan down. He's looking really great.
I wonder if Stankoven can get a turn on the top power play, especially because Dallas, in recent opportunities, just 3 for 20 on the power play. So if that's not an opening for Stankoven to come in and do something, not sure what is. Stankoven's playing about 15 minutes a night, 3 goals on 15 shots. He's had an assist onto that. So not like as big and noticeable as Forster yet, but like that AHL, like what he's done in the AHL and what we've seen him do on the World Junior stage is all very exciting. So if you're asking me to choose, I think I'd go Forster, maybe just because he's been like already playing more. But I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between Forster and Stankoven at the moment. I'll lean a little bit to Stankoven just for team quality. You're muted.
Yeah, maybe just splitting hairs. Both very exciting young players right now that could potentially be playoff MVPs for your fantasy leagues. So take a look to see if Stankoven or Forster's in free agency. And if you missed out on Stankoven, you missed out on Wyatt Johnston. I don't know. Maybe you look at Jamie Benn. That's the I think this is good news for Jamie Benn. I should just mention getting to play with these 2 incredible young players. Benn hasn't been having the greatest season, but he has assists in each of his last couple games. Maybe this could be the start of him being somewhat relevant in fantasy again. Plus, Ben's still on that top power play, right? For now, until Stankoven bumps him. But
yeah, exactly. It could be a bit of good and bad. But Ben has taken 5 shots twice in his last 3 games, which is nice to see. He hasn't been shooting a whole lot for a while now. So if Ben could inject some more shots into his game, and I don't know if that's because of Stankoven and Johnston or not. Johnston, by the way, like you said, you probably already missed him, but he just had a 4-game point streak snapped on Saturday, and Johnston himself taking a lot of shots, 14 shots in his last 3 games. I like that. So, all of that, like with Ben and Johnston shooting a bunch, I just hope Stankoven can get his shots in too.
Yeah, so it'll be fun to watch Dallas for the rest of the year. They're looking good. And by the way, they just traded recently for Chris Tanev, we should mention. Not super fantasy relevant, but he's, I guess, a good defensive defenseman, good for blocks for what it's worth. But yeah, so the Stars are going for it this year. I don't see why they shouldn't be like a really strong contender. All right, Brian, we're getting to the point now where I'm scrolling through tweets, and they're all teams we've talked about. I get to Vasilevsky, who got the start yesterday for Tampa. There's nothing to say about Tampa. Like Brian, like what I said before about how we always seem to find something new to talk about in every team. Tampa's the exception. I couldn't think of one thing that's new and interesting to say about the Lightning between last week and this week.
Let's move on.
Okay. Why don't we move on to our final break then?
Oh, wait, Elon, we should...
you got something.
Yeah. Well, I think we should just do, and I'm actually not prepared for it because I only thought of it now, but on our last episode, we were worried about Steven Stamkos and his minutes. right?
so what
He'd
happened?
played less than 18 or low minutes for 3 nights in a row. He's since played 21 minutes, 17 minutes, that's low, and 20 minutes. Oh no, sorry. That's wrong.
Oh.
Sorry. Let me just do that again. Oh no, I've got something. Okay. Well, Elon, on the last show, we were concerned about Stamkos's minutes, right? They had fallen into low. He played 13 and a half minutes, 16 and a half, 18 and a half, then 15 and a half twice. And that's markedly below the 19-20 that he's been playing most of the season. So let's just take a look at Stamkos's minutes lately. Okay, he played 21 minutes against Montreal, picked up an assist. The game before he played 19 minutes. So I would say that the minutes have returned. Stamkos has 8 shots in his last 2 games. The points have not returned yet. He has just 2 points in his last many games. We talked about how he was cold, but 2 points in 8 games for Stamkos, but 2 points in 3 games for Stamkos if the glass is half full and the minutes are coming back. So that's promising.
Okay. Well, hey, 2 points in his last 3 games. That means he's bouncing back from that terrible cold streak. And yeah, I'm not too worried about him. Like the minutes will just whatever. They'll be what they'll be. He's Steven Stamkos. What are you even going to do? We're past the trade deadline in most fantasy leagues anyways. All right, Brian, let's take our last break. And when we come back, we'll work through the remainder of the teams we haven't covered yet. We got to get to Colorado. I guess it's like Nichushkin news came out a long time ago already. Let's start next episode with Colorado, okay? All right. Let's start the next section with Colorado, okay?
Can't wait.
We'll be back in a sec. All right, welcome back, Brian. So, yeah, the big news out of the Colorado Avalanche is that Valeri Nichushkin had been cleared for practice. He's already been practicing with the team for a while. I saw some tweet at one point saying that he was not going to join for the road trip, but that trip is over. But I'm going to be very excited watching Twitter tomorrow while I'm at work. I don't know how productive I'm going to be because I'm going to be waiting. I have Nichushkin in Cupful. It's a must-win week for me. If I could get him in for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm very excited. This was covered on Short Shifts. They looked at maybe what players are going to be affected by this. I don't know really what we have to add. Lehkonen was playing on the top line with Rantanen and McKinnon in the last game against Nashville, where, by the way, Colorado got wrecked. And a lot of tweets, if you search for Nichushkin, it's just tweets being the Avs need Nichushkin ASAP. They need this player back so badly. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the lines will be. Someone's going to get bumped from the top power play. Either Lehkonen or Drouin, I guess. Well, obviously. So yeah, it's going to just be fascinating. I don't know. Any thoughts before hopefully we get some good news next week? All of us Nichushkin managers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still I know nobody really it seems like consensus is that Nichushkin helps the team, and he does. The offense in Colorado seems much better with Nichushkin on the ice than without, although his own isolated impact, according to HockeyViz, seems lower than. So it's hard to really tease apart, I guess, is what I'm saying. That Colorado is definitely a better team offensively with Nichushkin on the ice, but is that specifically because of him? Not sure. But at least
what about
part
just
of
their record? Isn't it they have such a better record with him on the team than not on the team? Doesn't that just tell you a lot? Or you're saying it's just a coincidence?
I'm not saying it's a coincidence. I'm just saying I don't know that I'm buying fully in. And also he's not great defensively, right? So, I'm just saying. There's I think you mentioned it when shortly after he was out and Colorado lost a few games and their goaltending had been terrible. Anyway, I don't want to for sure say that. I think Nichushkin makes some players better. And good for him for doing that. He's not going to hurt. I don't know why I'm even nitpicking with this thing. But yeah, so it can't be a bad thing if Nichushkin comes back for Colorado. I guess the other, like you said, does Drouin or Lehkonen get bumped? I don't know. But Lehkonen right now still top lines, top power play. And I still, Elon, think that another nitpick. Lehkonen's been doing all right, but I'm where I was with him last week. He doesn't seem super locked in to his production yet, but it's been good enough, so that's good. It's not hurting to wait for him to hopefully get locked in, and we'll see if Nichushkin's return derails any of that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be good for Lehkonen if they like play on a line together. Well, I guess Lekkonen's on a good line right now with McKinnon and Rantanen, but maybe if like Nichushkin takes over on that power play with Lehkonen, that can be good. Like, man, I'm just looking now at Nichushkin's game log from before he left the team. He had 2 goals in his last game against Vegas and 5 shots. I remember that time, January 10th. I was feeling really great about my team, and that was the start of like a bit of a losing streak. It was such a good run. Anyway, Brian, okay, so let's move on from Nichushkin. And I think at this point, maybe we got to stop scrolling through these tweets, even though they're so fun to continue through. But let's just make sure we cover all these remaining teams. Let's go to Calgary. I wanted to talk about a guy, Mikhail Backlund. Just like he's on such a good hot streak. I don't know. We talk about him every once in a while. We actually talked to him about a month ago around the time that the Flames traded for Kuzmenko. And I think you and I looked back on the accountability channel that Trev keeps up to date over on our Discord. And yeah, I recall that we had made a claim about Backlund, and I'm glad to see that we definitely got it right. We said that we would still prefer him over Kuzmenko after Kuzmenko came to Calgary. And I think maybe some people would have definitely been more excited about Kuzmenko coming into the new situation. But yeah, Mikhail Backlund just coming into a week next week where the Flames play 4 times. Like, you know, he's now 4 points in his last 3 games. He had 2 assists yesterday against Pittsburgh in Calgary's 4-3 win. That's his like 3rd game in a row with a point. There's a lot of high shot games. I just really like Backlund. To me feels like a warm hug. Like he's just like a reliable, you just know he's going to give you good vibes. If you have him on your team, you're getting stuff. So I don't know. I just missed out on him, actually. I was planning on adding him tomorrow, but he's been taken in my league. And I'm a little bummed. And so I just wanted to shout out how great Backlund is doing. You know, he had that great run at the end of last season, and he's starting one right now with a little bit to go.
Yeah, and also warming up on Calgary, Igor Sharangovich and Andrew Mangiapane. So keep an eye out. Calgary plays 4 times this week, and I think it's heavier on the back half. So if any of those guys can help you, take a look.
Yeah, and of course, the other big news out of Calgary is with Tanev gone, and like they've been talking about on short shifts, like Hanifin is going to be potentially traded. So take a look if there's going to be any defensemen that potentially will benefit. I guess Uyghur and Anderson will get the power play. There's been some talk about maybe Shillington gets more ice time. Maybe that'll help with peripherals. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with Calgary over the next little while. But okay, let's go to Carolina. We had a question from Trev. Brian, our accountability czar. Is Brent Burns a snoozer, even though he's on the top power play on this team? We've talked about him a few times this year and come to the conclusion that he seems good enough, but it's been a really cold stretch lately for Burns. Only 1 point in his last 6 games. A lot of games with no shots. Man, remember when Burns was like just such a cheat code in fantasy because he like took so many shots and he had the hits and blocks and he was getting points and he was a defenseman. Now he's still a defenseman. But that's pretty much the only thing you can say of all those. Looking at this game log lately, it's been weak. Would you drop Burns? Like Carolina also doesn't play until next Thursday. Like you could stream in a guy and get like 3 games maybe if you get a Monday, Tuesday player, swap for a Wednesday player, or you can just hang on to Brent Burns.
I guess you're asking if Brent Burns is snoozing.
Well,
or if you're
exactly how I started my question. Yeah.
yeah.
Trev asks Brent Burns is a snoozer. Yeah.
Yeah. So to come back to that, 43-point pace this season. Yeah, not what you'd hoped for from Brent Burns. And the irony is that it was all about like Burns or D'Angelo, right? And D'Angelo's been largely out of the mix, and Burns is doing probably what we would have expected if D'Angelo was in the mix. And it's at 5-on-5 where Burns is struggling this season, and part of it is variance. Like he's only participating on 25% of the goals scored with him on the ice versus the 40% that he's generally on for in his career. And also more of his shots seem to be getting blocked. His shot attempts are up, but his shots on goal are down. He's also down ice time at 5-on-5. Brent Burns has lost 75 seconds a night, which since last year, and last year he lost 2 minutes a night from the year before, which was the difference between his first year in Carolina and his last year in San Jose. Like it's kind of crazy. Like you were talking about Brent Burns being a cheat code, and like yeah, I remember that, and but we're now at the moment where it's like, oh shoot, Brent Burns is playing less than 16 minutes a night at 5-on-5. That's crazy too. Thank God for Brent Burns' reasonable power play production. He's on pace to match last year's 23 power play points, and on the whole, last season Brent Burns was good and rosterable. So I think it's largely variance at 5-on-5 that's hurting Burns. Not a whole lot has changed from the 60-point pace that Burns has put together, except for some variance and, well, actually ice time too. I can't forget that part. So I would still expect Brent Burns to be able to put up like a 50 plus point pace, but it's I understand it's hard to wait. I think I'd hang on because I assume there aren't a whole lot of better D replacement options in free agency unless Brent Burns is like disposable on your roster. He's like your fourth defenseman. You could get more use out of that spot by streaming in forwards. Then I might consider it, but otherwise I think you just hold and hope the percentages start to favor him a little more.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't drop him, but it's definitely frustrating to be in this situation, no doubt. Also, speaking of this schedule for Carolina, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday this week, I'm wondering if you have Kochetkov, if it's time to cut bait, even though he just won Rookie of the Month honors for February. Like, he's been good. His last game wasn't so great, but I'm seeing tweets that Freddie Anderson, back on February 29th, Chip Alexander tweeted that Don Waddell said Freddie Anderson should be back and playing hopefully in the next week sometime. I don't know if that means like a conditioning stint in the minors or like actually just playing an NHL game. But I wonder if what if Frederick Anderson comes back and plays Thursday? Also, Spencer Martin has been so good every game. I think there's a decent chance that Kochetkov maybe only plays once this coming week. Maybe all three goalies get, I don't know. So I'm just wondering, I have Kochetkov. Like I said, Brian, it's a must-win week for me. Carolina doesn't play till Thursday. Do I drop him, stream someone good, even though he's been so good for me? I'm just curious what you would do in this situation with
I don't know.
Uncertainty. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question. Like I can guess what Carolina would like to happen in net, which is actually I can't even. I don't know what they'd like to happen in net. I don't know what they want to be doing come the playoffs either. Like I'm sure Carolina's like, yes, Spencer Martin is good, so now we can still have three goalies who we can randomly play in on unpredictable rotations. That's it's honestly like that's how I feel about Martin doing it. I'm like, come on, this could have been so easy. So Elon, I truly I have Kochetkov in a league, and I also am not sure what to do with him. It's a limited ads league, so I think I'll just hold. But if he's not playing a lot the rest of the way, then I'd rather just let him go.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you.
Short term. Yeah.
Well, you're in you said Talbot's available in your div.
Mm-hmm.
Would you change Kochetkov for Talbot?
I mean, I'd love to just wait for the Tuesday goalie start announcement first, to make sure Talbot's actually playing. Otherwise, I'm dropping a guy who might play Thursday for another guy who just might play Thursday. I think on a given day, I think it's close to a coin flip. But in terms of trying to predict who's going to play more rest of season, it really comes down to is Frederick Anderson 100% and ready to go. If so, then definitely I would rather Talbot. But also, let's get Frederick Anderson back. Let's see him play a couple games. So it's very tricky. And right now for me, it's very game by game with these goalies. So I don't know. All I know is I'm dropping Nico Dawes, but I might also be dropping Kochetkov. So might be a gift to future. For people who have their playoffs locked in, that might be a gift for you to just pick him up, see what happens. And then you have you still a couple weeks to assess. So if he's available in free agency for you and you do have your playoffs locked in, he's definitely Kochetkov's been really good, right? So, but yeah, I don't know. What's your answer in terms of just in general, Talbot versus Kochetkov? I guess for now I'd go Talbot, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. You know what? I think I would lean Talbot but with Anderson, you also never know just how ready he's gonna be. Yeah,
Exactly.
there's a lot of factors here. If I had to guess, if I'm looking for volume, cupful scoring, I think I would lean Talbot.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. Let's go to Detroit now. Man, Patrick Kane. What is there to say except for we were so wrong. We're so sorry. We're sorry to him. We're sorry to his doctors. We're sorry to all the fantasy managers who we suggested how good is he even gonna be after this injury? Whatever. He's incredible. 15 points now in his last 11 games, up to 31 points in 30 games on the season. So, way to go, Patrick Kane, and way to go anyone who grabbed him, stashed him when they had the chance, or even just held him in an NA spot. You're laughing now. He's been incredible.
Yeah, Patrick. Yeah. I don't know what to say. I feel I think Kane has been our biggest miss of the season, and but you know what I'm gonna do, Elon?
I think Taylor Hall was the biggest miss, but okay.
Maybe your biggest. Well,
you convinced me.
You felt that more personally. Yeah. Did I convince you?
Yeah, you were so high on Taylor Hall. Let's go back and listen to the episode when he signed.
No, I definitely thought it was a good thing for Taylor Hall, but
anyway.
Yeah.
What was the thing you were gonna say to me?
So 15 points in 11 games for Patrick Kane, since spending a little bit of time injured. 5 power play points in those 11 games. And those 6 goals have come on 26 shots. So I don't know if your trade deadline has come and gone in your league, but Elon, I'm going to...
Don't. He should only have 5 goals, but he has 6 goals, so you should trade him. Get out of here.
He should probably have
Nichushkin isn't actually that useful to color. It's like, spreadsheet boy. I'm going to become one of those trolls on Twitter. Get your head out of the numbers. Watch the games.
I'm just like 5 power play points from the split power play situation and scoring on a quarter of his shots. And like the shots still aren't like, is like a couple shots a game, like a shot and a quarter a game. I'm just
sure,
saying.
I'm with you. Like I don't think he'll get 15. I don't think he'll get 15 points over his next 11 games. It'll probably be 10 or 11. So like, I'm with you there. Like he's probably a little too hot.
Yeah, I might even say like 8.
8 points in 11 games.
8 points in 11 games.
I'll bet you the over. I'll take the over on that.
You can
take
make a bet? Over.
Well, so Trev, put that down in accountability.
I want to see what the pace would be for 9. Just before
I'll say over 9. I'll take over 9.
All right, let's do 9. And 9 and 11, is a 67-point pace. So let's set it at 9. I'll take the under.
Okay. So let us know. I feel pretty good about this. All right, so let's go to Edmonton. What is there to say about Edmonton? I don't know. Right now, Janmark is online too. So there you go. We'll see how long that lasts.
Thanks for the update.
Florida. I want to talk. So, Brian, you put a moratorium on talking about Ekblad and Montour until they do stuff. Montour is doing stuff. He's finally, for the people who drafted him, stashed him, and then held on through a long cold streak. You waited a long time for this. But 8 points in Montour's last 4 games, heating up right before our fantasy playoffs. Wow. And that's like, if you could go back further, like he's just on an incredible run. So what is there to say except another kudos to the people who grabbed him and held him, or to people who picked him up out of free agency after he was dropped or traded for him. Looking amazing now. But Brian, are you going to be like, he should only have like 6 points in his last 4, not 8?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Montour with 5 multi-point outings in his last 7, 4 goals, 9 assists for 13 points in 7 games, 7 power play points, tons of shots. Here we go. Right? We're finally there, I think, with Brandon Montour. If you made
Let's go.
If you made it to the playoffs with Brandon Montour on your lineup, like in your roster the whole time, or like not even the whole time, but you have him now, congrats, and hopefully enjoy. It's like a free deadline acquisition for you heading into the fantasy playoffs. I hope.
I mean, yeah. I don't know how much he cost you, but if you got him on free agency, that's incredible for sure.
Or even if you held him all year, just being paid, I'm in a good enough position. I don't need to cut ties.
I was offered him in my dynasty league midway through this season. But the cost wouldn't have been free. It would have been like maybe a first even, but one of your like not interesting firsts. But I ended up Maddie and I ended up deciding not to go for him. And I don't know, right? I mean, I'll see how I do in my semifinals starting next week, but I wouldn't mind having him, that's for sure. Montreal, I wanted to mention quickly, it's been a good little stretch for Alex Newhook. He's hot. Slavkovsky, not as hot. I was going to ask you Newhook versus Slavkovsky, but I'll just say I'd still prefer Slavkovsky while he's playing with the red hot Suzuki and Cole Caulfield on the top line. Both of them have been on the top power play lately, though. So both Newhook and Slavkovsky may be interesting depending how deep your league is. But I'll also take Slavkovsky.
Sorry, versus who?
Newhook.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me just go to my notes. Yeah, I will also still take Slavkovsky. Although Newhook 7 shots in his last 2 games, that's rare for him. But Newhook's 5-on-5 line kind of sucks. He's with Yoel Armia and Joshua Roy. And I wouldn't expect a whole lot from Alex Newhook. Whereas Slavkovsky hasn't been given us a whole lot. Shots are still largely lacking, but his time on ice and deployment's still fine. Like, my gut says Slavkovsky is going to get back to producing, but he is running out of patience to offer. So I'm going to hold him because I really like who he plays with still and where he plays in the lineup. But another 2-3 games and nothing, and I think I might be ready to go. Not to say he won't be able to play well again, but I'm just not going to wait the whole time. Not quite a Couturier situation because Couturier's deployment changed. Elon, I'm trying to decide. I have Slavkovsky and Sam Bennett in one of my leagues, and I've got to cut one of them. I'm leaning cutting Sam Bennett just because he's not on the top power play, and Slavkovsky is. What do you think?
I mean, my gut would say to hold Sam Bennett, but just because Florida scores so many goals. Yeah, he only has 2 points in his last 6 games, but he's shooting so much. Also, if your league did count hits, that would be great. He's doing a lot of that. But no, I
Doesn't.
think
Points only.
but I would still take Bennett. I think probably he should be scoring a few more goals.
Okay.
So that's my pick. But put that down, Trev. Bennett versus Slavkovsky. I take Bennett. Brian takes Slavkovsky.
I think I do. In any case, take it down because I want to see. I'd like to remember seeing how this one turns out.
Ottawa. So yeah, Josh Norris out. That sucks. It was covered on short shifts. Not really good for anyone. Maybe good for Shane Pinto. He's like just rises up the lineup. He's on an incredible run. So he's another like Patrick Kane. Like if you could have grabbed him at the right time, as soon as he became not just like NA, or was he IR eligible this whole time? I'm not sure, but I wish I had Pinto, but I don't. Also, I wanted to mention Drake Batherson, who we talked about as being so cold for quite a while, but he's finally gotten going. So I guess it happens to everyone eventually if you wait long enough, right? Which then makes our whole show like, what are we even doing here? Because I feel like didn't we eventually come to a conclusion that maybe Batherson? Remind me, what was your last take on Batherson, and do you update it now that he has 6 points in his last 6 games, ton of goals?
The last take on Batherson is, I think, what my take still is, which is, well, my last take on Batherson was like he was barely shooting, and it's really hard to hold when like there's really not a whole lot of sunshine in what we were seeing. And even if he did start shooting, it did like there was no real promise that Batherson was going to return to form. And even though he just had a 5-game point streak and a 4-game goal scoring streak snapped on Saturday, I'm not like that. So optimistic on Batherson. For goals, he had 4 goals on 13 shots. He's on the second power play unit. Yeah, this is not the year we wanted from him, nor do I think it can turn into the year we wanted for Batherson. Meanwhile, Shane Pinto looks fantastic. Like this is more than I was expecting from him. And like you said, with Norris out, I think Pinto is someone who benefits. And frankly, Elon, I might even pause the pod to go add Shane Pinto if he happens to be available in your league.
Okay, how do you compare Pinto to Forrester, who you had slightly above Stankoven?
I'll take Pinto.
Okay, sure. I think we're definitely in the same category for me, like really exciting young players in great situations.
I don't think Pinto's pedigree is like quite as high as Forrester or Stankoven, like his upside, but he seems to be contributing night in, night out in various categories.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm not going to get into the Ottawa goalies. Like Forsberg's hurt, Korpisalo's sick, whatever. They all like don't rush to grab the next guy, Sogard or whatever. It's not going to work out for you. Seattle, yeah, that's a goaltending situation that's worth digging into, though. Geez, Decord has been so great for so long, and all of a sudden now Decord never plays. Grubauer is the new hotness. He's, what is it now, like 4 games in a row that Grubauer's just been incredible. Are we at a point now where you have to just drop Joey Decord because he's not going to play for you, and then grab Philip Grubauer if he is available to? He's coming off a 2-goal against loss to Edmonton, which definitely not his fault for the loss. Like Seattle lost 2-1. Before that, he shut out Pittsburgh. Before that, he led in 3 on 32 versus Boston. Grubauer's on a nice run, but counterpoint, he's Philip Grubauer. So
yeah, exactly.
That's
like
the problem.
I picked him up heading into this week knowing he'd play once, and I was like, okay,
so that worked out well.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, he played well. Let's see if he can do it again. And like with every start that came, I'm like, oh, he's starting again. That was a surprise. And it's like, oh, he played well. That was the second. It was like a double surprise. And so if you're holding Joey Decord, I think you're in a strange position because even if Grubauer does falter, well, 1, Decord hasn't been great lately, but 2, if Decord isn't lights out, I assume they just go back to rotating the 2 of them, especially if Grubauer until Grubauer has a few chances to show that he's going to explode every game again. So I don't know how great value, I don't know that you're going to get more than a single start in a row from Decord anytime over the next week until Grubauer has enough chance to blow it completely. It's tricky.
Right, so since we've been comparing people, Brian, let's say you have Grubauer. Let's say you had unlimited moves, so you could just make swaps whenever you want. If Talbot was out there, would you swap for Talbot or would you hold Grubauer?
Yeah. No, I don't think I'd hold Grubauer because I think eventually the Seattle situation, like neither guy's going to be volume, and I think Talbot has the upside to be volume.
Right. All right, cool. And I guess we could end in St. Louis, which I shouldn't have done. I should have ended in Seattle because I don't really have anything to say about St. Louis that hasn't been said in short shifts this week. Falk is back, had an assist yesterday versus Minnesota. Braden Shen is cold. Probably he might be a snoozer. Like if you still
Snoozer,
have him,
for
yeah,
sure.
like, definitely take another look. But with that, Brian, we've done it. We've gone through every team. This has been a blast like usual. Oh, Shams is saying Tarasenko's on a run. Back to the Ottawa talk. Hey, goals in 2 straight. Ottawa's hitting the trade deadline soon. Maybe upping the return that they'll get for Tarasenko. So we'll talk about him next week if/when he gets traded. But yeah, this has been such a fun time. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed this mega episode. If you enjoy the show, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know. Well, if you don't, okay, how about this? If you enjoy the show, give us a 5-star review. That would be amazing. If you can do that on Apple Podcasts, wherever you can go and rate us, that really helps us out. If you don't like something, we'd love to hear some feedback. We've been trying these new formats lately. So, tweet at us at Keeping Karlsson, hit us up on the Discord. You could probably get a hold of us. And yeah, we're definitely always interested in hearing what the listeners think. Thanks so much to the patrons for supporting us all year long. You're incredible. And I really appreciate you, especially those of you who have stuck around to this point. And any listeners listening at this point late in the season, you're a hardcore fantasy fan. And we're so happy that you're joining us for the rest of this ride. But with that, Brian, I think I'm good. Let's cue the outro music. You can go ahead. And you can go ahead, say your final words, read us the credits.
All right. This episode of the Keeping Karlsson Fantasy Hockey Podcast was presented by Dobber Hockey and powered by our patrons. We mean it. Powered by, like, they're the fossil fuels to our podcast gas guzzler, including our super supporters, who are the highest emitters: Lucas, Top Cheese, Roman, Don, Michael, Jordan, Patrick, Philip, Ivan, Sammy, Andrea, Zachary, Tom, Ryan, David, Dusty, Ricard, and Patty. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin Aberg, our Cupful coordinator. Crushing it, as always. Oh, also shout out to the Cupful Madness team with this fun little side bracket competition we've got going. We appreciate you. Thanks, Shams and Elon, for everything at GameDayTweets.com, which I guess was basically this episode was an ad for, which is great. It should be. It deserves it. You can follow our Short Shifts crew at Short Shifts KK. Shout out to Lewis, Jeremy, Shams, and Derek for another solid week of content, both past and future. Logo art by BrandonWeave.com. Outro music by Pat Roach. This episode was researched with help from Dobber Hockey, Frozen Tools, Dobber Prospects, Natural Stat Trick, Evolving Hockey, Cap Friendly, The Athletic, HockeyGoalies.org, Hockey Reference, Hockey Viz, Hockey Database, Elite Prospects, and Yahoo.
Great job as always, Brian. Always a pleasure talking to you. Looking forward to a couple short shifts next week, then another matchup maximizer, and then Brian and I will be back a week from today to do this all over again for a mega show.
Except for the patrons.
Except for and we have a patron cast coming in a couple. Oh my God, Brian, what a time to be listening to this. I don't know. Wait, let me say it again.
Alive?
What a time. What a time to be. I don't know. Okay, to be alive. Okay, what a time. What a time.
What a time to be a living patron of Keeping Karlsson.
Yeah. What a time we're having all together in this fun community. Looking forward to chatting with you for the Patron Cast and hearing all this other great content. I can't contain myself, Brian. What do I do? Well, I wait for all this fun to come to me.
Take all that anxious energy and channel it towards something constructive. If you see anybody feeling like they don't quite belong in hockey circles, maybe you could reach out to them and see if they'd like to play fantasy hockey with you, because you're doing everything you can to make sure that fantasy hockey is for everyone.
Awesome. Thanks. Great show. Great chat, as always.
Thanks, chat
out.
room.
I'm going to go have some cereal. Dina's very excited.
That you're done already?
When I wrote being want to have cereal now. Oh, yeah, we call it cereal. It's our little cute inside joke thing. But anyway, and then she responded yus, Y-U-S, which means especially.
So it's a ridiculous inside joke couple exchange. You know what?
Our WhatsApp would make you puke.
That's cute. That's nice. I wonder if it would make me jealous. I wish I.
You have a very nice relationship.
You know what I think you should, but what would really take it to the next level is if you called it Kirill Kaprizov.
That will not fly.
Kirill Kapin Crunchizov.
We do not eat that.
I know.
Cereal. We've discussed this. All right. Talk to you later, pal. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye. Thank you.